it's not heaven. It's the ABCA. And if you're a passionate fan of this sport, a coach or a leader of this sport, this is the place to be. Day 3 of Perfect Game TV's coverage at the American Baseball Coaches Association Convention here in Grapevine, Texas at the Gaylord Texan Hotel. Day 2 was loaded with tons of insightful conversations and a lot of laughs and memories. Day 3 will do the same thing. Let's start day 3. Danny Wexelman, my name is Darren Sutton, and we're glad. We're glad. We've seen the numbers. We're glad so many of you have spent so much time with us because we're the lucky ones. And on behalf of Hunter Pence as well, who sat here yesterday, we are the lucky ones because it was about meeting people, having conversations, and now I think I finally get it. What makes it so special for the high school coach in Kansas or for Tim Corbin, who coaches at Vanderbilt? I think I get why they all come here, the conversations.
Well, it's so interesting, right? Because you have Hunter. It's his very first ABCA. And then you have someone like Tracy Smith, right, head coach of Michigan. And he's almost been here 30 years. And so the perspectives are so fascinating. You're also watching people have conversations in real time. Right here on our set, we do that. But out in the lobby at the trade show, people are having these in-depth conversations about the heart and soul of the game, about motor preferences. I've heard Matt Swope's name a million times throughout our time here in Dallas. But what I think is so special is watching relationships just being built on this stage at this set. And you could start at the very beginning of someone's baseball career and go all the way through and learn so much. But it's been the relationships that I think have been so special.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Tracy Smith, head coach Michigan. Todd Fitzgerald, head coach Stoneman Douglas. Chan Brown, head coach Parkview, National Coach of the Year, I believe it was a couple of years ago. Jimmy Osting has won Jupiter at Ostinger's baseball, former major leaguer. And Jeff Petty, probably one of the most well-known names with the Canes in all of travel baseball. Was there a moment that you had an aha, where you watched Hunter have an aha? What was kind of your favorite moment? And it's no offense to any of the others, but in one of those conversations where you were blown away. What was that moment from yesterday?
Yeah, Todd Fitzgerald from Stoneman Douglas, 3 straight national championships for his program, an undefeated season. His son is on the team, and watching him have an opportunity to share about what it was like to go through this year with that group of young men and how they have faced so much adversity, and they've been so resilient. And we talked a little bit about the school shooting and how Todd has grown and how his mindset has shifted, and they greet each other every day. Every day they shake each other's hands and look each other in the eye because they know how precious it is, right? And it talks to the larger picture of why we're actually all here is because baseball is so powerful, and baseball can uplift you from what is a hard time, or it can change your mind, right? You can have a conversation and be thinking one way and leave that conversation. Maybe you didn't change your mind, but you learned and you grew, and Todd encapsulated all that in our conversation.
I think for me, what stood out the most, aside from running around on the trade show floor, that was incredible. And I ran into my Jayhawk League coach from 1991, so that's kind of sums up what this is. I think for me, what stood out the most was the juxtaposition of talking to an NAIA coach out of Iowa at Northwestern State, and 2 interviews later, talking to Bobby Witt. And having Bobby Witt Jr., his son, the PG famous prospect, join, and the 2 of them, the father and son, just moments after an NAIA coach, and yet having probably one of the hottest names in all of baseball join, Bobby Witt Jr., and speak about, with humility, how much Perfect Game is meant to him. The same kind of humility that the NAIA coach had. It was incredible to have Bobby Witt up here, so that's what went on. And while we have this shot, I'd love to throw up the schedule, if you don't mind, of what we have, because I am going to have the next interview. Danny and I are going to talk with Jeff Melke. We can't wait. Then I'm going to let you go. You do mind? I'm going to get out of here.
You can go.
Okay.
That's all right.
So coming up today, okay, Jeff Melke will join us representing Lee County. Abe Key, Pony Baseball. Drew Hayes, Austin, Texas, Sports Commission. Rob Ponger talked yesterday, our CEO, about the new Cedar Park complex. I think that's a really insightful thing. Craig Keilitz, the leader of ABCA. And Wade Martinez will join, SFC Ballparks of America represented. Scott Laverty, one of my favorite coaches, he's at Chapman. They share the same ballpark with Orange Lutheran, Hart Park in Orange County, California. And then Chris Hanks of Colorado Mesa. I like Chris Hanks. Another really good one. That's a unique program. They play in a beautiful ballpark. That's at D2 Power. That's our day. That's it. I mean, it's a really busy day again. You ready?
I got you.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. When we come back, a conversation with Jeff Melke. Lee County is perfect games home, away from home. And we'll learn about it. The relationship between Lee County, the Sports Commission, Jeff Melke, and Perfect Game. The venues are everywhere, and PG takes advantage. And you find me an empty hotel room when a PG event's in town. Coming up next from the ABCA.
Oh, yeah. Wait for this one.
Time after time, and you just feel at home. It's PG South. It's Fort Myers, Florida, and we love our relationship with Lee County. Jeff Melke joins us, the executive director of the Lee County Sports Development Group. Jeff, thank you. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having us on. We love being here, seeing you guys at ABCA, and it's we feel part of the PG family as well.
So when you come here, you're representing with pride your region, and you have such a deep history. It's not just baseball. We'll get into all the other sports. But as a group, as a leader of your group, what do you hope to accomplish, and what do you enjoy about coming to a meeting like this one?
You know, this meeting is a baseball relationship meeting for us. It's a chance for us to see partners, meet new friends, and really just continue to spread the word that, especially over the last 18 months, that Fort Myers and Lee County as well, that we're still hosting events, even though Hurricane even had quite an impact on us. And we also do have some conversation with college coaches here. We host a spring break tournament in March, and then really it's just to make sure everyone's aware that we're a great baseball destination, and you know, making sure the coaches know that we'll put on the best tournament experience they can have.
You had to be shocked, and first of all, and because you spoke about Ian, and we all were worried about everyone we knew down there,
yep.
You know, yourself included, but there's so much of our family down there and our baseball family. And heck, it's people in restaurants that we get to know for the amount of times we come. The parks, the folks that are all at all the great facilities that you've helped us get to know by coming down there. You had to be blown away by how your community pulled together and how quickly and safely, because that was the most important thing, you guys were again hosting events. You guys were finding places that had hotels that could house athletes. I know it was heartbreaking to go through it, but you had to be proud of your community as you stood back up tall.
Oh, so proud of our community. You know, the one word that gets talked about a lot with our county leaders is resiliency, and I think we showed that, and we continue to show it. There are a lot of amazing things happening, and there are still some work that needs to get done, especially, on our barrier islands that still have a ways to go to recover. But what a resilient community! Everyone banded together. Everyone, set aside, whether it was city boundaries, county boundaries. Everybody helped put our community back together in short order. And like you said, we were up and running and hosting baseball, but all sports tournaments within months of Hurricane Ian hitting. So we do. And, we're not strangers to, whether it's a red tide or whether it's hurricanes or downturning economy. We've weathered some pretty big storms, none bigger than Hurricane Ian, certainly. But I feel like we are a pretty resilient community.
Sometimes when you hear all the adversity you guys have gone through, you start to cut, your face kind of scrunches up. Like, I can't imagine sometimes what you guys go through, but you always build back, and you build back stronger. But you have that community, much like I'm sure the community here at ABCA and the baseball community. You do more than baseball, but I know this baseball community is so tight-knit. How have they been able to maybe uplift you in a tough moment? Have you had experiences like that?
Well, just getting the very first phone calls after the storm and all the outreach, and many of them are from our baseball partnerships, certainly a number of many perfect game, like I said, part of our family calling and reaching out. But really it's the how can we help? That's what really we appreciated the most is okay, we know you guys have been through it. We know maybe not, and now is not the time, but when it is time, please let us know how we can help. And Perfect Game was one of the first ones that came to us and said, is it time for us to come back yet? And when we finally decided that we had enough hotel rooms and our facilities were in great shape, Perfect Game came back and has filled our community week after week after week over the last year and a half, and has done some great things. Everything from having an incredibly positive economic impact in Lee County to raising dollars for our Golisano Children's Hospital, to, again, just spreading the word that Lee County and Fort Myers was open for business.
How about for you, Jeff, personally? Again, we just talk about all the things that you're going through, and you're personally, I'm sure, affected by this as well, but then you have to go to work, and you have to strap up, right, and say, okay, we have things to do. We have needs for our community. We have needs for Lee County. We have needs for what we're providing to so many people. So for you personally, what makes this job so special? Why do you love it?
Well, I don't know. You get so much out of being a public servant, right? And doing servant leadership. And so to have a hand in helping our community recover, helping put back broken pieces, helping people, our sports tourism team helped Parks and Recreation to set up pod distribution centers so that people could get water and food and tarps for their homes. So I think you don't get into government unless you like helping other people, and we have a special role in our county government being able to host sports events. So when we can go outside of just sports tourism and we can really have an impact on people who live there, that's certainly is really meaningful to us.
Are you ever able to do the personal touch base with someone who's affected by the amount of people that are staying in the hotels, that are eating in the restaurants, whether it be a bump in pay for a teacher because there are more dollars coming in, whether it be someone who has said, hey, listen, I've lined up now my professional life because of the growth and what you guys have helped grow. Have you been able to have one of those personal interactions where someone shares, man, I've seen the change in our community because of what you guys have done?
Yeah, so I was at a Christmas party recently, and somebody came up to me, and it was a hotelier, and we hadn't seen each other in a while, and And he used to be a beach manager of a property on a resort on the islands, and he didn't get a lot of touch points with sports tourism. And now he is at a critical inland hotel that gets a lot of sports tourism business. And he said, listen, if it wasn't for sports tourism, he's like, I don't know what we'd do. He said, we'd be sitting at, a 40% occupancy on weekends, but because you all are here, we're always at 90%. And he goes, we're able to keep our housekeepers employed and make sure everyone has the hours that they need during these trying times. So that's one example. There are many, but that's one that certainly is pretty timely since it's happened over the last few weeks.
The other thing, too, and I appreciate you sharing that, the other thing that it wasn't really in my notes to talk about, but then it pops logically into my head. Because of the finances of all of us in the world, and the world's getting more and more expensive, and the challenges that almost all families have to go through, the sports vacation with the son, with the daughter, depending the sport that is being hosted in Lee County, is the family vacation.
That was me.
You can't do it all, right?
Yeah,
you can't do it all. So, and we're seeing some pretty pictures of where you are. That's what makes your destination unique. The beautiful beaches, the ability to get out to a park and play, the good food, the restaurants, if it's something that fits your budget. I think what's neat about it is the family atmosphere that goes along with great facilities, Major League spring training parks, lots of great facilities. That being said, the sister's not always excited about that. She might rather go out on a boat and go out in the water.
Right.
That's what makes it cool, because the sports trip's the family vacation.
Yeah. And as we become more of a diverse vacation destination with Topgolf opening now and bowling centers opening and different things and shopping malls that are not going out of business, they're actually, some of them are thriving in our community. Those are things that I think make us a good, unique vacation destination. And yes, we are there to put the players on the field and make sure that their athletic experience for them and their families and their coaches is the best it can be. But we also want them to experience Fort Myers and Lee County as a leisure downtime. Okay, we're done on the fields. Now we want to go and have a drink, or we want to have a nice dinner, or we want to go to bowling or to Topgolf. So to have more of those offerings just continues to make us a great tournament destination.
I often hear dads and sons or families talking about their plans after the game, and it often involves a beach or going to get a good meal outside, sitting outside somewhere, right, to enjoy the weather. That is almost the number one thing these families want to do, and especially because they're on the road a lot more now with travel baseball, and they're eating out, and they're trying to spend time together. Is there some growth coming for you all in 2024?
Yeah, so Margaritaville just opened on Fort Myers Beach, so that was really exciting. That's the first big, kind of announcement of progress that, besides the hotels that made it through the storm and have already opened for business, having a Margaritaville brand opening its doors during the holiday season is pretty special for us. And for me, I took for granted that even Perfect Game involves teams from all over the country, but a lot of times they're coming from Florida. And I've took for granted how special the beaches are even for Floridians. Like, okay, so you live up in Tampa where you can go to the beach all the time. But when they come to Fort Myers, they want that to be part of their experience, that we're done playing, we want a bite to eat on the sand. Yeah. And for us to not have that or be limited in that has really been eye-opening for me, and it really has made me appreciate our destination more, and that we need to get those amenities back up and going again as quickly as we can, and why I was so excited to see Margaritaville opening, because that gives them that option.
I am also excited about Margaritaville.
Me too.
Yeah, one
too.
One more for me is just along those lines a little bit, and bringing people in, taking them there. What's the most underrated visitor spot or destination spot in Lee County? If you're leaving the ballpark, is there a place you feel like we're not thinking enough about?
I'll tell you what, there's two. Cape Coral has got a really cool downtown, probably 6-block eating district, and some of the best restaurants that we can find. That's where I enjoy going out and having dinner. And I guess it's underappreciated by tourists. It's certainly not underappreciated by us because we live there. And sometimes we hope that the tourists don't discover some of our restaurants. But that, and then I think the downtown, if you have not been downtown Fort Myers and been around the Luminary and the new amphitheater that's downtown and all of the diverse offerings of food and entertainment, that's really underappreciated too. So if you're not on the beaches, I think those are two places that I think if anybody were to kind of go out and look for where the locals hang out, that's where they'd find one of us.
My fun little twist is we thank you for being here and representing Lee County. It's the concept of two players, and there's many more than this, but these are the two that pop into my head. Mikey Romero and Marcelo Meyer, and here's why. They, throughout their time, were select festival athletes coming down to Fort Myers, Lee County. They, throughout their time with the San Diego show, were traveling to Lee County, and they were playing. But now they're grown-ups, and now they're big boys. And now they're in the big boy stadium playing for the Boston Red Sox. For you, as someone who hosted them as boys and now hosting them as men, that's got to be a unique twist in your chair.
Yeah, it's fun to see the alumni of Perfect Game come in, and in talking to both the Red Sox and Twins coaches, front office staff, player development folks, they always marvel at the number of players that come in, and they try to give them a little talk about this is what Fort Myers is, and they say so many of them are like, yeah, we've been here a lot because through Perfect Game, and so it's really rewarding to see that many players that have come up through our destination as young men, and now they're playing at the professional or minor league level, and they already know our community and they're familiar with it, and it feels comforting to them because they kind of feel like they're home. So, my
friend, thank you for stopping by. I always learn something new.
Much, and
thank your community for hosting us.
It's
our PG home away from home. We love it.
Yeah, we love you guys, and can't wait to have you back.
All right.
Okay.
I'm out of here. I'm going to turn you loose. You're going to carry the rest of the day?
I got you.
You got it?
I got you.
All right.
Go on.
So she's going to carry the rest of the day. When we come back, we're going to talk pony baseball. Abe Key with such a rich history in this sport. One of a handful of great conversations. This is day 3. Danny grabs hold of the wheel. She takes us on home. It's always a blast being here at the ABCA, the American Baseball Coaches Association Convention. More after this from Grapevine, Texas, as Danny rides that horse home.
I never let myself believe that I was gonna be in the big leagues. I always worked for it until I achieved it. Back in Puerto Rico, I remember my dad would hit me ground balls from the top of the hill. That forced me to always move my feet. There were no limits to where I could go, so I play with no limits.
American Baseball Coaches Association, Day 3, live from Grapevine, Texas, at the Gaylord Texan Hotel. We are live on Perfect Game TV. It has been a fantastic 3 days here in Texas at the 80th edition of this ABCA. So exciting. We have a full day for you here. As you already saw, Jeff Mielke, and we're going to continue on our conversations. Yesterday, though, having a fantastic time. Perfect Game coming together at the Dallas Cowboys Club. And what's awesome about this is just getting the opportunity to meet different people from around the baseball community, gathering together. We're obviously enjoying ourselves. You meet new people that you haven't met before. You sit down at a table, you get to know somebody. It has been a fantastic 2 days. We did that last night. It was a blast, and we're going to continue our coverage today. Abe Key joining me now, President and CEO of Pony Baseball since 1995. Abe, welcome to the set.
Thank you, Danny. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are so happy to have you. So 2 days in, and you just told me before we started that you've been doing this and coming here for 36 years?
36 years.
Kind of hard to believe.
My hair shows it.
No, not at all. You look great. You look like you've been in this baseball community, the softball community we know for a long time. But I have to know, I find it so fascinating when someone has been coming to an event like this for so long. Do you have an earlier memory that you are most fond of?
You know, interesting. I was telling this story yesterday. The first 3-4 times that I came here, I was sort of solo. I didn't know too many people. I hadn't made the connections that I have now. I walked down the alley of the hotel, and people would call me coach, and I really wasn't a coach. I'm an administrator, but you know, it's taken a little bit of time, but after 36 years, you can walk the halls and walk the floor, and I know a lot of people. And it's, you know, part of my family, part of my heritage, and what I do.
Well, I think, too, you're almost a historian of this event, right? Because you got to see it a while back and the growth of it. Now, I mean, we heard 8,000 people here, 10,000 people here. There's a lot of coaches here, a lot of members of the baseball community. But what's one of the biggest ways you've seen this event grow?
Definitely the youth involvement. There was no youth component many years ago, and we started the ABCA Youth Committee, which I chaired for many years, and that's morphed into more and more youth-oriented coaches attending the ABCA. Originally it was founded on a collegiate coach level. High schools came in, you know, another 20 years past that, and then now the youth coaches, depending on where the conference is. And here in Texas, we have a lot of youth coaches that are attending the ABCA this weekend. Yeah,
there are a lot of people here, but I think that's what's awesome, right, is that you do have people from every corner of the country who love the same thing, who come here together. We talked a little bit, the clinics maybe not so important anymore. You did coach, but now you are overseeing, you are planning, you are organizing, you are putting in infrastructure to grow at that grassroots level for the youth game. But what is on the to-do list when you come here?
Well, one thing that we've added is the international component to the international coaches that are attending. You know, 10 years ago, some ABCA guys, Pat Doyle, Tom O'Connell, Pete Caliendo, started the international coach clinics, and there were 10, 12 people in the room. On Thursday night, we probably had 90 people from probably 20 different countries, from India, Japan, St. Martin, France, Germany, there are a lot of Netherlands, a lot of great coaches, a lot of people that are interested in absorbing what goes on here from a coaching education standpoint, and also from the trade show standpoint, obviously.
The trade show is wild, by the way, walking through there. I mean, I was here last year. We were in Nashville, and it was big, and this feels like it's 10 times bigger, right? It's got to be bigger in Texas anyway. But I am so fascinated by your story, and I know it's been documented so many times, so well documented. But I love the fact, because I think it's a really good lesson for kids who not only want to work in baseball or work in sports, but just in general, the commitment that you made and the ability to work for one organization for basically the entirety of your career, Pony Baseball, what it's meant to you and what you've built. You've built so much. What does Pony Baseball mean to you?
Well, I had a great opportunity when I was in high school. I had a American Legion baseball coach who actually worked at Pony's headquarters, and I grew up in the town where Pony was founded in the early 1950s. And this coach sort of took me under his wing, and as a high school kid, junior in high school, he offered me a part-time job at Pony's headquarters, picking up people from the airport, cutting the grass, running the printing presses, all those little dirty, jobs that nobody wanted to do. And I put my hand up and said, yeah, I want to stay involved in the game. Went to college, West Virginia University, came back in the summers, did an internship a couple of summers. And when I finished college, they had an opportunity, an entry-level position available, and the rest is history. I worked my way up through the ranks, some good timing. The guy that hired me went into politics, 18-year state representative in the state of Pennsylvania. I took his place. 1995, Roy Gillespie, who was the president at the time, retired, and I took over as president in 1995. So it's been a phenomenal run, some good luck, some good timing, but it's been an amazing opportunity for me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen so much evolution as well. We've talked a ton the past 2 days already about the youth level, the prospect level, and how, for me, I feel like youth sports have never been more important in so many different avenues. And your efforts are grassroots. Your efforts are to make sure that if you want to play, you can play. And I think there's no more important time than right now, right? You've got kids who are at home playing inside, or maybe not getting outside to play sports, or don't have that. I feel like sports were the most important thing in my life growing up. So how has that part evolved for Pony?
I'm going to start with telling you what Pony stands for.
Please,
Pony stands for Protect Our Nation's Youth, P-O-N-Y, the acronym. And we still believe, even though we're 74 years old now, that is true today, like it was the day that we started. We need to get kids off the street, off the couch now, out from behind their computers, and get them outside, get them on a field, get them playing the great games of baseball and softball. Regardless of the skill level that they possess, we need to create an opportunity for them to put a glove on and get a bat in their hands and play baseball or softball. That is our charge. We get up every day, and that's what we go to work for, to make sure that these kids have an opportunity. And we're a grassroots organization. We do have high level competition when it gets down to the very end through our tournament system. But our goal every day is to make sure that kids that want an opportunity to play have an opportunity to play.
Have you had an experience, I'm sure you've had a couple, I would guess, where a parent comes up to you or a caretaker comes up to you and maybe shines a little light on what you've done for their child?
That can be good or bad.
Sure, yeah, both.
I love the good stories, and of course, there are plenty of those anecdotal stories out there. Just, kids that come from maybe diverse backgrounds, maybe a broken home, and that sport has made an impact on their lives. And when we get to talk to some of our MLB graduate kids, and they can recall the kids they played with. And these are guys that are, Christian Yelich is, MVP. He's played in our Pony League World Series. I talked to him, and he remembers every kid on every team that he played with growing up in California. And those are lifelong friends, commitments. He's a big leaguer, but he still remembers the kids that he played Pony League baseball with when he was 14 years old.
We have conversations with big leaguers who sometimes their favorite thing is to talk about their travel days or the organizations they played for in their community, or the kids from their hometown that they got to play with. Why do you feel like that is so integral to their growth, but why they still go back to those stories?
I mean, we go back to our stories when we were kids, right? The dances and the high school things and all those memories that we have as children. It's, an innocent time. We grow up, we make friends, we fall in love with the sport. We fall in love with being outside and creating opportunities for, friendship and friend circles, and kids that live in another neighborhood, or kids that live down the street or the next town over. I still have a ton of friends that grew up in Western Pennsylvania, where I live, from my baseball playing days, and I still talk to some of them.
Headquartered in Washington, Pennsylvania, by the way.
Yep, 30 miles south of Pittsburgh. That's where Pony was founded in 1951. Originally 6 teams of 13 and 14-year-old boys.
Wow.
Next year, through the grapevine, to be honest with you, and here we are on grapevine.
Yeah.
We got 600 teams, and we had our first Pony League World Series in 1952.
How does that feel to say that? 600?
From 6 to 600 overnight. And it was amazing. I don't know how they did it without the internet or fax machines, but the word spread. That was people in Washington, Pennsylvania, that started a program for kids that took Little League graduates at 12 and started a league for 13 and 14s before they got to the high school or the American Legion team. So there was a gap there. So we created an opportunity for those teenagers to play organized baseball, and it just has blossomed. We have 500,000 kids, 30,000 teams, 56 countries now that participate in the organization.
Well, that's what I was going to say. From grassroots to global,
right.
Pony has gone. And we were just talking about the international relationships that you guys have and what you've been able to do, set up some infrastructure in Tokyo, and how cool that is. By the way, I'd love to come on that next trip. Love to get out there and see
beautiful.
The baseball.
Yeah.
But what did that do for Pony baseball, and what does that mean for the future?
I mean, it's given us a global footprint. The WBSC has probably around 110 countries that play baseball now, from the youth level all the way up to the national team, and it's growing. And we want to be a part of that. We feel that there's an opportunity for Pony to be a developmental partner for the federations in all of these countries. We're at 56 right now. We're halfway home. I don't know if we'll ever get to the 110, but we're certainly going to try. We have an office in Tokyo, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Prague in the Czech Republic. We have international events all over the world. We had our first ever girls baseball World Series in Tokyo, Japan last July. We had 2 teams from the U.S. participate. Our 15U team finished second. Our 23U team finished, I think, third or fourth. But it was a great experience for those women to go over and play in a different country, play different countries,
totally.
Asia and Taiwan and Japan and Canada and Mexico, and just a great opportunity for those girls to experience the baseball internationally in Japan.
And obviously, I think that's one of the most important things that's happening within diamond sports in general, is that there are more opportunities for girls who want to play baseball and not just be funneled into softball because that's what society says that we're supposed to go play, right?
Yep.
If there are women who want to play baseball, they want to play those rules and with that ball and the way that sport and the rules go, like they want to do that. So I love that there's another avenue for them to do that.
Yeah, we have there's an organization, Baseball for All, and so
love
Justine
them.
Siegel is very helpful to help us create and coordinate those efforts for our organization. And we feel that's a great growth opportunity within the game.
I love that. The future. I wanted to ask a little bit about the future. We've talked so much about the infrastructure that you guys have set, the growth that you have had. I mean, you look at those numbers, it's kind of hard to fathom, but you've been putting in the work. So let's just do 2024. What does 2024 look like?
I can tell you, we're back from pre-pandemic participation, so that's good, right?
Okay.
So 2020, 2021, really tough years for everybody, in the space, in the youth sports space. No matter what sport you were talking about, participation was down. We're back. We grew 12% last year. We feel that's phenomenal. All indications are we've finished all of our winter meetings already, our reorganizational meetings, and that those numbers are only going to get better for us. So we feel there's some really good opportunities. Chile came on this year for the first time. Venezuela, although we have political issues, between countries, we have a lot of pony now in Venezuela, Colombia. So you look at the international baseball map, and where a lot of the better players come from. We're starting to see those countries come aboard. So South America is a great opportunity for us. Africa is a great opportunity for us.
Wow.
There's still some Asia, some Southeast Asia that we need to work on. But we're having events this year in the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand's on board. So we're starting to cover the map a little bit better.
Yeah,
so I think there's some great opportunities there.
Not going to be many corners that you haven't covered,
right.
I would say, in the next 10 years or so. But as far as maybe something people don't know enough about when it comes to pony, I feel like we have covered so much, but is there a frequently asked question people want to know about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have pony in your community, you may or may not know about pony.
Okay.
Somebody asked me the other day, how come Eastern Pennsylvania is a little bit more dominant Babe Ruth baseball and Western Pennsylvania is a little more pony dominant? Because Babe Ruth baseball was founded in New Jersey and subsequently a lot of Eastern PA. Yeah, so we have a lot of regionality. And, of course, Little League's headquarters are in Pennsylvania, too. So you have Babe Ruth, Pony, and Little League within 190 miles of one another.
Right.
And then you have Pop Warner football right in Philadelphia. So you have a lot of great youth organizations in that Pennsylvania region. So, we're competitors. We're friendly competitors. We're battling every day for market share. But we all are doing really good work for the kids. So we're excited about that.
I am too. I get really, really excited about the future for them. And again, just how invested everyone seems to be. And, you hear it at the major league level too, and realizing that everything is foundational and everything starts right there. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, and along those lines, is USA Baseball. You're on the board of directors. So
right.
what is the latest with USA Baseball? What's going on there?
Well, we have Major League Baseball is obviously Major League Baseball. USA Baseball is our national governing body for the sport. So they do a lot of medical work on, pitch mart and protecting the athlete. They're doing a lot of identification series, the breakthrough series. They're doing a lot of events.
Yeah.
They're opening in April the new international headquarters for USA Baseball in Cary, North Carolina. They have a training complex, an office complex. So, USA Baseball is just doing a really, really good job of creating opportunity for a lot of kids at the entry level, too. Play ball from Major League Baseball. We all work together at events to just get a bat and a ball in a kid's hands and maybe turn that kid into a little bit more active player where they join a league. And then maybe they'll become a high school player or a collegiate player, maybe a professional player. But they'll be a fan. They'll be a fan of the game of baseball and softball. They'll go to a major league game. They'll buy a jersey.
Yeah.
So we're trying to create not only players, but opportunity and fans. I think that's at the grassroots level another thing that we do really well.
It's so powerful, right? You just give a kid a bat, a ball, and you watch what they can do. I would wonder, too, so we just wrapped up the World Baseball Classic, obviously, in March ahead of the regular season. I was lucky enough to be there and watch some of those games in Miami, but I would wonder how that helps you all, knowing that I feel like that it's never been bigger, the World Baseball Classic, never been more eyes, never been more exciting. So does that kind of filter down and rub off on pony baseball?
100%. So let's take the Czech Republic as an example. They made the final round. They won a game in Japan.
Yeah.
Of the 25-man roster, 24 were born and raised in the Czech Republic, which is, a high percentage, obviously. And so that just shows the development that they've gone through in that country to create opportunity for young players.
Yeah.
We have all of our European championships, 14U, 16U, 14U, 16U girls softball, all in Prague.
Wow.
And so they've really done a nice job. So as we watch some of these countries, Israel was in a couple years ago, right? I mean, nobody thinks of Israel as a hotbed of baseball, but they put together a really, really good team, well coached. And so I think you're going to see more of those opportunities, the Dutch, the French, the Spanish. A lot more countries are going to elevate their games and be able to be more competitive in this environment.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. Honestly, I feel like we were rejuvenated a little bit. It was a shot of something that the sport needed and to be reminded of. And the off season in Major League Baseball has been dominated by the international market so far. So I think that it all kind of coincides together, which has to be exciting, I'm sure, for pony baseball.
Absolutely. Yes.
Abe, we're so happy to have you. Thank you for giving us some time.
Appreciate it.
All right, so Abe Key here, Pony Baseball, and we are just getting started as we move along day 3 in Dallas, Texas at the ABCA, the 80th edition coming up. Drew Hayes, the Director of Sports for the Austin Sports Commission, will join us right here on set. We'll be back.
I need all the wins, ain't no else, gotta get a no call and quits, gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, better move out the way cause I'm coming with hard against, my head is as hard as a brick but I'm harder than all of this, you better move, you might get knocked out, you better move, you might get knocked out. I feel like Mike Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's scoring. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. I told him this ain't a game.
Day 3 of the American Baseball Coaches Association live from Grapevine, Texas. We are right across from the trade show and coming to you live on Perfect Game TV. If you want to go back, by the way, you can watch days 1 and 2 on Perfect Game or on the app. We got you covered there, but we're so happy to bring you in. And Drew Hayes, the Director of Sports, the Austin Sports Commission, joining me here on set. Drew, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, we're so happy to be here. This, by the way, is my very first time in Dallas. I have been to Austin. I've been to Houston, but I'm crossing Dallas off my checklist. This is the 80th year of ABCA. How many have you been to?
Actually, this is my first one, too. So checking that one off the bucket list.
Wow.
So what did you enjoy about Austin?
I was there for South by.
Of course.
South by Southwest. And I was there a long time ago, I think before it really got to where it's at right now. So maybe less mainstream a little bit. But to be honest, I'm a kid from Missouri. So to have a chance to meet people who are in the tech space, the music space, everything that South by offers was incredible. Almost overwhelming to me.
It's a show, right?
Yeah.
It takes over the city.
Yes.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Everyone, knows when South by's in town. So we're glad that it's back, and we're glad that it's like full capacity again.
I love Austin. Also the breakfast burritos in general, I think.
Can I correct you a second?
Yeah, please.
Breakfast tacos.
Breakfast tacos. Breakfast tacos. And
So you come to Austin, you say
me.
burritos, just FYI. That's a no-no. You got to
Okay.
say breakfast tacos.
The breakfast tacos. See,
Yep.
we're learning so much here.
I moved to Austin 6 years ago, and I said burritos, and I thought I was going to be I thought it was the end of the world. So
Thank you. I listen. I don't want to offend anybody, especially when it comes to food. I know how good the food is here, but so your first ABCA. So just give me a little taste how it's been so far.
it's awesome. There's tons of people here. There's energy in the room, right? Everyone's excited to be here in Dallas and Grapevine. So what's not to love about this conference?
I think one of my favorite things, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but you just walk out. You don't have to go that far, and you see someone or for us, the coaches, you're running into someone who's been in your circle. Have you had that experience?
Exactly, and it might be coaches for y'all, but it's cities for us.
Yeah.
You got Fort Myers here, Wichita, Kansas is here, obviously Austin, right? So you see a lot of colleagues we see every year, and so it's good to connect and catch up.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Sports Commission and what Austin has to offer. So it's not just your basic sports. I mean, you guys have everything. So walk me through a little bit about what's featured in Austin.
Yeah, so I guess our marquee event for the year sports-related be Formula One. So if you've watched Netflix and Drive to Survive, that sport has just incredibly blown up as of late. March, we have NASCAR. We have the San Antonio Spurs playing some regular NBA season games in market. Gosh, we've got the International Federation World Bench Press Championships coming in May. So it's just it's a variety of sports. In the past, we've hosted the National Dodgeball Championships of all sports.
Sign me up.
Yeah, right? So definitely excited about baseball and softball and trying to develop that a little more in the market. But we've got a lot of things to offer.
Is that a point of emphasis for you all, that you want to have a wide variety and different sports to offer to all the different people and the families that are living in Austin?
Yeah, that's part of our mission. So quality of life for Austin. So what can people go attend? What can their kids participate in, right? And so we've got a really good volleyball component. We've got a good soccer component that relates to the youth, but we're really trying to develop that baseball and softball market next. So exciting things on the horizon for us, but yeah, we try to cast a wide net when it comes to offerings for our city.
And how about for the tourism side of it? I could imagine that people are coming. Obviously, people are coming to Austin for so many reasons, sports included, but how do you connect the tourists to the Sports Commission?
Right, so obviously through our events is number one, but making sure they know where the good places to eat, making sure they know where to go shop on their downtime. Maybe you're into the wineries, so you go out to Fredericksburg and do some wine tours. I don't know, but Austin has unlimited options for things to see and do, and our job is making sure that the people have the right connections to get where they want to go.
Obviously, the wineries are of a great interest to me. There's no doubt about that. And you navigating everybody. So connect the dots for me here now. You guys are at ABCA. You mentioned that maybe you're here for the cities, for the places, not so much the coaches. But why is ABCA important for you all?
Well, obviously with Perfect Game, the relationship there, we want to continue to grow that relationship. And obviously there might be opportunities to grow that in the future. And we just want to be good partners with PG. additionally, ABCA, man, this conference is amazing, and we're going to a convention center expansion soon. So hopefully, maybe that's the place someday, ABCA in Austin. But we're just here to be good partners with PG and meet the folks in the room.
Do you walk through the trade show? Do you feel inspired? Are there things that you take and you're going to take back home?
Oh my gosh, I want to take every baseball glove and every bat. There's a guy selling a guitar-themed bat in there just a second ago. I'm like, that's great for Austin.
Yeah.
Live music, we need those bats in Austin.
Yeah, you can find that, right? There's so many different things inside of there. But I think what I love the most is the people. And everybody in there, whether it is related to what you're doing or not, is that you find this commonality, right? And for everybody here, it is the diamond sport. It is baseball or softball or coaching, right? They're all intertwined.
Exactly. And what better way to start the new year off with some fresh connections and new friends and new relationships. So, yeah, this has been a great show, and we'll definitely be back in the future.
Now, you mentioned F1. You've got a lot of stuff. So I used to cover Major League Rugby. You guys have a team there.
We used to have a team. Unfortunately, they left. They were the Austin Gilgronis.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you know what? We've got Premier Rugby Sevens coming this summer, so we've got rugby events coming. Really, anything you can think of sports related is kind of intertwined in Austin somehow.
I know the obvious reason, but why do you think it is such a destination for these major sports, Olympic sports, everything in between?
Well, outside of sports, Austin is good for being an outdoor city, being easily accessible, middle of the country, so you can get there very easy too. Our food, I don't know if you know Open Table, but they just released a list of top 100 restaurants in the United States. 5 of them were in the state of Texas. Do you know how many of those 5 are in Austin? If you
4?
had to guess, good guess, but 5.
Wow.
So we've got great food, like other than the barbecue is the staple, right? But like, if you need to come get something besides barbecue, we've got anything there as well.
So I was doing a dive on the website. I think you guys have a fantastic website, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of things that grab your attention. It's easy to navigate for someone like me, of course. But I think something that caught my eye was the diversity, the inclusion that is important to you all, the LGBTQ community. How did 100%. That come about? Like, what's been the building blocks for that?
Austin's always a welcoming city, whether it's your whatever, right? You come here, you're going to collaborate, you're going to be creative, and it doesn't matter what you look like or what you prefer in life, and we're going to be welcoming regardless. And talk about LGBT community. We're actually hosting the National Gay Bowl this year in Austin, which is like the Super Bowl for the LGBT community. So we're excited about that. But yeah, come to Austin. No matter what you look like, no matter your age, no matter your hairstyle, it doesn't matter. You're going to be feeling welcome in our community.
Yeah, come one, come all, right?
Exactly.
You guys have so much to offer. I'm wondering maybe, the partnership with Perfect Game, but some of your wants and your needs coming up just in the near, maybe 6 months, year.
Yep, we're really trying to expand, like I said earlier, our youth facilities and our footprint, right? Okay. So we're really taking a proactive approach with our Parks and Rec department with the City of Austin to work through that and improve our existing facilities. Obviously, there's hype and buzz around Perfect Game potentially being in Cedar Park in Austin in the near future, so we want to continue to support that relationship and make sure that we're doing everything we can to make that happen. But if we had one strategic thing this year, is making sure that we improve our youth facilities and try to get those up to par so we can host future events.
Yeah, so if we're coming into town, there's a Perfect Game tournament, there's a Perfect Game event, families are coming. I mean, come one, come all. Let me tell you, like, what I love the most, I think, is that you don't just meet the kid, the athlete, you meet the mom, the dad, the brother, the sister. Everyone is coming along because often the destination of the event is the vacation. 100%. That happens a lot. We talked about that the past 2 days, and that was the same for me growing up. I played softball, and wherever we were, we tried to turn it into a vacation.
Right. You have to have some downtime.
There
you got to get out
yes.
outside the facility, go see the things to do, like live music in Austin. We have a concert going on every day in our new arena. You can walk into a local restaurant or a bar if you're of age, and there's going to be live music. There's live music out at the airport. So once you're out of the facility, there's an endless amount of options that you can go partake in.
Yeah, and for the teams and the athletes and the families, I mean, we talked about it with Lee County. You can go to the beach, you can be outside, and it feels like Austin provides so much. There is something for everybody, depending upon what interests you and what excites you, right? Or how much time you have available between games. There literally is something, right?
100%. Like I said, come to Austin. You're going to play, you're going to compete, but you're also going to have fun outside of the tournaments.
All right, I wanted to know, too, a little bit about your background, because I'd imagine that you don't just get into this. There has to be some sports involved with you.
Yeah. I initially my career started in minor league baseball.
Okay.
So my first job ever was with the Corpus Christi Hooks in Corpus Christi, Texas. That took me to some independent baseball in Wichita, Kansas. I worked for the NBA with the Oklahoma City Thunder for a while. And then one day, someone stumbled in and was like, hey, you should come work for the Wichita Sports Commission or the Wichita CVB. And I was like, wait, what is sports tourism? I don't even know what that is. So I lucked into that position, worked there for a number of years. And when the opportunity with Austin came calling, like, I knew that was my future city. And luckily, it all worked out for me.
There's more than just food, too, though, right? Real quick, because we talked a little bit about that. But arts, which interests me, art and culture, right, are two huge ones. We talked a little bit about South by, but just bringing in the weird, right?
Yeah.
Keep Austin weird?
Keep Austin weird. Do you know how it started? Do you
No,
know the
tell
story
me.
behind it? So there was an independent radio that used to promote, Austin musicians, and it was the off-beaten music that no one really, maybe the mainstream music, right?
Okay.
And they were doing a fundraiser or something, and someone called in and they donated money to the radio. And the radio host asked, like, why did you donate? He goes, I just really enjoy this station. I want to keep Austin weird.
Oh, my gosh.
And so they made the bumper stickers, they made the shirts, but it didn't really take off until a few years later. A local bookstore was about there was about to be a big name brand bookstore coming in, and the community rallied around the local bookstore and printed the shirts and raised the money, and Keep Austin Weird stuck. Book People was the bookstore, and it's still in Austin to this day.
I mean, I can just hear from the way that you talk about this city and the community that it means so much to you. For people who have never been there, what would you say, or they haven't circled it on the calendar and said Austin is the destination? Like, one last thing, what would it be? Like, what's the draw?
The draw is the people first, right? You got to have the great service. But there's, like I said, Austin, keep it weird. There's an endless amount of things to do and see. One of our staples is also the Austin Bats. So we have like our Congress Avenue Bridge. In certain seasons, there's 1.2 million Mexican free-tail bats that fly out over the lake.
Did you say bats?
Bats, yes.
The animal.
The animal.
Okay.
Yes. And people stand on the bridge, and you see thousands upon thousands of bats just fly out. And it's a tourist attraction, so that's our other Keep Austin Weird little thing.
I love that so much. You guys have so much going on. I'm so glad that we had a chance to be with you, but the partnership more than anything. I am excited, hopefully, to get back to Austin and have a breakfast taco.
Yes, breakfast taco. I will take you to my favorite one.
Yes, please do. We're going to continue on. This is Drew Hayes, Director of Sports for the Austin Sports Commission. A really exciting time for us at Perfect Game to be partnered with you all, but I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Stay with us here on Perfect Game TV. We are rolling on day 3 this afternoon. We got a big one coming up. Craig Keilitz, ABCA Executive Director. He'll join us right here on set when we come back.
What's going on, guys? I am with Soldier Sports, and they just newly released their Tank BB Core Drop 3. The pop is insane. It's got an incredibly good feel. Feels a little bit like a Voodoo with that balance feel. The hand is great, little flare knob. But we're going to take some swings here, check out some exit videos, and see how it tests. 97. 99. So as you can see, I mean, this thing's hot. It's got great feel. I'm really loving it. So go check it out. Soldier Sports US. Let's go.
Being in the wild is best when you're with your family. We do all kinds of different things at camp. Go fish, surf, dive. I think I'll probably be coming out here the rest of my life.
green walls. It's winners, it's head coaches, it's presidents, vice presidents, the founders. There's so many names over there of award winners and distinguished members of ABCA. But we were talking about the very first photo that was taken, the group of guys who put ABCA together, founding this organization, and how cool that photo is.
Yeah, I don't think they could ever imagine what this thing would have turned into. 27, great college coaches from around the country meeting in New York City at the New York Athletic Club, and then have it turn into what it's become, 16,000 plus members, a convention with 8,000 coaches here, and 250,000 square feet of exhibitors. I don't think they could have ever imagined what this thing's turned into.
No, it has to be so special, and it's hard to fathom how much the game has really just changed, I think, in the last 4 years, but genuinely in the last 80 years, what this game has done, and not just baseball, but obviously everyone who's involved with the game, the community members, right, coaches, anyone who cares about this sport. You've been coming here, obviously, for a long time, but what's been maybe some of the bigger changes that you've seen just for the convention itself?
Well, we've added so much to it. We've added our youth sessions that really get high school and youth and travel ball coaches involved. We have our different committees where we've had our diversity committee that's been added over the last several years that has really increased our minority participation with men and women alike. Certainly with our hot stoves, our multimedia partners like yourself, the podcast row. So each year we're looking to improve on things to bring a different element, educational element, excitement element, exposure element, and certainly our expo hall with 250,000 square feet is another star as well.
So let me ask you this. When you walk into the expo and you're trying to figure out where do you start, do you have a game plan? I never succeed. I feel like I walk in and I am just in a maze. I'm playing ping pong with myself, going back and forth.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get in there as much as I'd like between all the meetings and the clinics that I'm participating in. But, we see the setup. We're able to meet with some of the companies before. But, yeah, if you love baseball or don't love baseball, you love what you see in there because the excitement and the new products and the energy in there is absolutely incredible.
You mentioned some of the clinics, the speakers too. I unfortunately didn't get to see any of them. I was hoping. I had a huge wish list, but as you said, we've been here up on set and running around. But have you had a chance to listen in to the past 2 days?
Just 3 or 4, and I'm glad you mentioned that because we video stream all of them, and it's live. So we have our live video streaming for coaches that can't make it here, and we'll have about 1,500 of those coaches from around the world that get a chance to see it. But we also give free of charge to every attendee of this convention and all of our membership, every one of those. So we'll make sure you get those and you watch the clinics you'd like to see, but they are tremendous.
We had so many people on right after Jay Johnson spoke, and they were kind of in awe about what he was saying, but just the opportunity to hear from the champion, right? To hear from the national champion. Has that always been the case? They've always headlined the convention?
As far as I know, back maybe 50 years, they've always been the leadoff speaker. And, when you get to hear that national championship coach, it's easy to see the talent they have on the field. And LSU has an abundance of talent, but you do not win a national championship without a head guy like Jay that knows how to pull that together, keep it together, to talk about the team concepts and the selfishness that they exposed and then the way they compete. So when you hear him speak, you understand why he wins national championships.
That's the one I will obviously be going back. But, I just look at the list of names that you had and the lineup that you had. It's so impressive. So that is my goal when I leave here, to go back and listen to those. But I wanted to talk a little bit about you. I believe this is your 10th year as the executive director, which I could imagine is really special for you. But as you look back, and you got the job in Dallas, right? That was when you were named as the executive director. So
that's right.
What's that meant to you?
As it evolves, it means different things. But I never thought this would be my career path because I was in college athletics. I had worked at Florida State, University of Michigan for 4 years. I was at Wake Forest for 12 and a half, and then vice president and athletic director at High Point University. I loved every one of those jobs. And this came open. I had no interest, no thoughts of even doing it.
And I came to the convention and saw the magic, and I just felt like this was what I would like to do, and interviewed for the job down in Dallas 10.5 years ago, and was fortunate enough to get the job, and they've kept me for 10 years, and we've grown it a little bit, and it's been tremendous. But again, I've loved every job I've had, but this has been so special, working with the sport that I love the most, the coaches that I care for the most, and the passion. And it's really a unique fraternity of men and women now that make up a great sport, that care about kids and the game and doing things the right way. So it's been incredible.
I've only been to, I think, 3 ABCAs, but I have seen more women coming, which obviously excites me as well, but just the participation and also the inclusiveness, right, and the opportunities that are provided, I always think are really special. And you mentioned the coaches and the people that are walking around here. You mentioned 8,000 people every year, right? More and more people and coaches and community members want to be a part of this. What does that tell you about the job that ABCA is doing?
Well, it encompasses so many people. We have just 9 people in our national office, and we have our affiliates around the country. But really, the coaches are our catalyst, because the clinics are so great, the fraternity is so incredible, the exhibit show is the best in the world, that it just feeds off itself. And once you get here and see what this thing's all about, and you are a true professional in your game, you cannot not be here. And it's amazing.
We talked a little bit about the state of the game and where baseball is at various different levels and where we're going. Do you think about that and how that relates to your community and the people who are involved with ABCA?
It's a huge part of my job, and I think about it every day. And as great as our game is right now, with fan attendance, both in the parks, TV viewership, the amount of money that's put into salaries, operating budgets, facilities, it's phenomenal. However, right now, college athletics is in an incredibly difficult position of the direction that we go. I'm an optimist. I think we'll come out on top, but between NIL, the travel, the portal, transfer portal, it's a weird time. And so I'm not sure where we're going to be, and I've told our coaches the other night during our divisional meetings that we don't know where this thing's going to go, and I don't think a single administrator or commissioner or athletic director in the country really knows where we're going to go, and we got to navigate it together. A lot of it does deal with the law versus what just is right or the best thing to do. And so we'll see how it comes out, but I do think we'll be in a good position, but it's going to be vastly different than it's been over the last 100 years.
When I think about everything that you're speaking of and what it entails, and that there are a lot of question marks and there are unknowns, but do you feel like that means the sport is growing at a pace that we are now trying to keep up with, and so many new things have risen up, things that we weren't thinking about when it came to the sport? Is that a little bit of what that entails?
Possibly. It's hard to put your finger on why things have changed, how they've changed, and how quickly they've changed. I guess I was naive. I did not know there was this type of money, and I don't think even athletic directors and commissioners knew how much money was there at their disposal to give towards the student athletes. And I believe in the NIL. So the young woman down at LSU that did a great job with true NIL, or the twins down at
the Cavender twins.
I mean, that's fantastic. That's what NIL is supposed to be about. In my humble opinion, the collection of money in a collective at the university and then given to a student athlete, in my opinion, that's pay for play. That's not NIL. And so on the surface, I loved NIL for a student athlete to make some extra money to help offset costs for school or travel or help their parents. I love that. But where we are right now, it's so cloudy. It really is.
How does ABCA try and support coaches through this? I have conversations with college coaches about it, right? Oftentimes we don't really get in the weeds of it, and they are still trying to figure it out too. But it's pretty interesting when you hear how their conversations go, and sometimes you do have athletes who are asking, well, how much will you give me, right? Instead of, I can't wait to grow and develop at your program. So do you guys have ways that you are trying to support coaches for that?
Absolutely. We're the voice of our coaches, and so I collectively get information from coaches around the country, either through their whole conference or individually. And then we talk about it, and we have a leadership committee from coaches comprised of different leagues around the country and the best way of attacking it. And then we put out our surveys to our coaches to make sure that we're getting accurate information on what the masses would like. And then when we meet with the Student Athlete Experience Committee, the different conferences, the NCAA, to try to not manipulate but help write legislation that meets the goals of our coaches. And it's difficult right now because an athletic director is thinking, what conference am I going to be in? What are a bowl affiliation? How do I keep my football, basketball, baseball coach? How do I do NIL? Is my job safe? I understand how far they're being pulled, but I need to be selfish for baseball and what we do to keep our sport moving in the right direction.
Yeah, do you feel like, especially when you get to start the year here, right? I do feel like it's such a spark plug. And we've had people come to set and who are so excited that this is the way the year starts with baseball, with the community. And even though maybe there are tougher issues that the sport is trying to tackle right now, complicated issues, that there are so many people trying to come together to figure that out.
Our coaches do a great job of, hey, when it's time to talk about legislation, let's talk about it. But now when I get with my team, I'm going to develop them as people, as competitors, as student athletes, and then compete on the baseball field and let that other distraction sort of work itself out over time. So I feel confident that it is what it is, and we're going to keep going forward, and the great coaches can separate that. And I think they do a really nice job with that.
So as far as the docket goes for you and the needs and the wants that you have, we'll put NIL to the side for a second, but for this sport at various different levels, do you feel like there is, for 2024, a want or a need for this sport you'd like to see be more developed?
Well, we have two components to that. One is our rules component, and that's the playing rules that we're working with the NCAA. And this year we put together our ABCA rules committee, that we put together all the things that we'd like to see. So it's done by baseball people, by baseball coaches that know the game better than anyone else. We vetted that through. We'll survey our coaches, and then we'll give that to the NCAA, which I think they'll rubber stamp and put through. And then on the legislative front, that is an ongoing thing, but we're looking at redshirt opportunities for student athletes that they can play in a minimum amount of games as a freshman to get some at-bats, to get some innings and not burn a whole year. We're looking going from 2 fall games to 4 fall games, which has been tremendous for us, but we think that can happen. And then solidifying our roster of 40 student athletes on each team with the 32 counters, and then getting rid of the 25%. So those are the things that we're working on right now.
How about for the coaches? I mean, we talked a little bit about how you're supporting them maybe through NIL specifically, but as far as their development and just knowing, I mean, again, 10 years in this position for you, a lifetime in the game. I know your dad as well, but ABCA here for 80 years. The development of the leader, of the person. We've had so many great ones sitting right here all week joining us and kind of describing their way, right? And all of them have kind of similar things, but they're doing it their own way. What is as far as development for the coaches, the want and the need for them in this year?
Well, the great coaches find a way to satisfy that thirst of knowledge, and between our clinics, between our videos, between the fraternity of talking to one another to develop, the great ones continue. They read books, they go to seminars, they certainly talk to different coaches in different sports to bounce ideas on developing teams, but the great ones find a way, and this is just the best of the best to pull it all together, and especially with the videos that we talk about. So you see it, then you break it down, you watch it with your team, you develop it with your coaches, and then you implement it when it's appropriate with their team. So this is the place to get it, that's for sure.
The resources, it sounds like, have grown exponentially in just how you're providing support. Has that been a point of emphasis for ABCAs to make sure these resources are readily available and easy to get, and for those who are members, you can have access at your fingertips?
That's a great question. We need you on staff. We have our 360-day app that they can get everything they need to get through. We have thousands. We have the biggest video library of baseball comprehensive teaching, techniques, drills, practice plans, you name it, it's there. So For example, a coach told me last year we were getting our brains beat in with a running game. How are we stopping the other team from running? And so, it's a collaboration between their middle infielders, certainly their catchers, but their pitchers slowing that down. So they called up, 12 different videos and took pieces out of it, incorporated that in their practice plan, and all of a sudden they stopped the running game for the opposing team. So those are the things that our coaches are doing. That's at their fingertips. And 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if you wanted to be a good coach, you had to have experience and you had to talk to other coaches that could one-on-one tell you. Now you can pull information up, and it certainly doesn't understand the nuances of it, but the technical advantages of the skills and the drill work, it's right there for you. So an intelligent person can pick up on that, put it in a game plan, get into practice, and all of a sudden improve your team.
Next year, Washington, D.C.,
yes,
which I am very excited about. I was telling some of our colleagues, I really love East Coast food, crab cakes. Like, besides the baseball part, I'm very excited for Washington, D.C., but what excites you about bringing ABCA there next year?
Well, we'll be on the East Coast, and the first time since 2008. We were in Philly, and so they've been very cost prohibitive because of the room rate, but we're there in National Harbor, and so we have every hotel room on the whole harbor. We'll have all of our coaches there, and we think that'll be our biggest show. And, who doesn't want to go back to our nation's capital? And hopefully we don't have any problems with hopefully we don't have anything with the election again.
That's right.
But that is far enough away that we shouldn't have any distractions with that. But it is, for those that have not been there, it's going to be a special place, and it'll be our biggest show ever.
One more for you. I find it fascinating because you are navigating so much in your job as executive director, and there's so much you have to pay attention to. Do you get to enjoy the game? Are you going to the ballpark? Do you get to sit back and relax a little bit?
I'm being better at that. And then this year was the first year in my 10 years that I said that I'm going to enjoy the convention. And I've always enjoyed it. But it is so many moving pieces and so stressful, and so many things that we're not in control of and things we are in control of. Sometimes it's difficult to enjoy the moment. And this year, I said I'm going to enjoy every moment of the convention, every conversation, every meeting, every clinic, and it's worked. I took my own advice for once.
I think more people should do that. I know it's hard to do, but it makes it a little bit more special and remind you of why this is so incredible at ABCA. But I'm so grateful for your time.
Well,
thank you for sharing the stage with us.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having us, and thank you for being here. This was a good experiment in the first year, and every time I've been by here, it's been packed, and I'm hearing great things from our coaches. So thanks for being a big part of the show this year. We appreciate you.
It's our pleasure. What a joy that we get to share the stage and share some space with you all at ABCA. Craig Keilitz, the executive director of ABCA, on stage with us. And when we come back, we're going to continue on these incredible conversations on Perfect Game TV. We've got Paul Satterwhite coming up, Ballparks of America, partner at Spencer Fane. We're live, Dallas, Texas, at ABCA, the 80th edition. We'll be back.
Oh, yeah. Wait for this one. Let myself believe that I was gonna be in the big leagues. I always worked for it until I achieved it. Back in Puerto Rico, I remember my dad would hit me ground balls from the top of the hill. That forced me to always move my feet. There were no limits to where I could go, so I played with no limits.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no else, gotta get it, no call it quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with hard against. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out.
I feel like Mike, Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's scoring. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. I told him this ain't a game.
What's going on, guys? I am with Soldier Sports, and they just newly released their Tank BB Core Drop 3. The pop is insane. It's got an incredibly good feel. Feels a little bit like a Voodoo with that balance feel. The hand is great, little flare knob. But we're going to take some swings here, check out some extra videos, and see how it tests. 97. 99. So as you can see, I mean, this thing's hot. It's got great feel. I'm really loving it, so go check it out. Soldier Sports US. Let's go.
Being in the wild is the best when you're with your family. We do all kinds of different things at camp. Go fish, surf, dive. I think I'll probably be coming out here the rest of my life.
You're a partner at Spencer Fain and the Labor and Employment Practice Group leader. I'm so excited to have you here, Paul. Welcome.
Thank you.
How many years have you been coming to ABCA?
No, I think this is my third trip to ABCA.
Okay, so you're newer like me, and sometimes it takes me a second. You know, you're walking through, you see all the people, you have the expo, walking through the trade show, you can go to clinics, speakers.
Sure.
How do you plan your trip to ABCA?
Well, our focus, and I'm a baseball coach from way back, a youth baseball coach. I love the interaction with the coaches, but our focus in coming as Ballparks of America, Show Me Baseball, really to get our name out there, to coaches, get our name out there to industry partners, build relationships. It's a relationship conference for us. So it's an opportunity to get here, interact with folks, support the game that we love, that makes our place go, and really build relationships.
I tell people all the time, you can't really walk that far without finding someone that you know, or someone comes up to you or just wants to learn a little bit more about you. Have you had that experience?
Well, absolutely. And what's interesting is you get to know the folks you've met here. You get to know the folks you've met through other pieces of the industry. But you also have the kids who come up who say, hey, 4 years ago, we were at your park. I'm 16 now. Or, you know, we run into folks in the industry who have brought teams to our park, and they have both that side of the experience, and they share with us what they've done. And that's really helped us on the networking.
I was excited to get to chat with you because Missouri is my home state, and obviously Branson, Missouri is the home for your Ballparks of America, and you guys are growing at a rapid pace, and I understand that you guys took over this development and this ballpark, but what's been the most exciting part for you since that acquisition?
The really neat part of it is seeing that development of kids, seeing that opportunity for kids to come, for their younger brothers to come, for teams to come from organizations because they find out about us. We market through social media, through other avenues, but our best marketing is word of mouth. Yeah. And seeing growth of the place through the experience, because our goal, we took over a week before the pandemic. Yeah. So, it was a tough first few months of knowing what was going to happen. But from that point to today, our goal has been to make a great experience for kids. We say from 8 to 80. Obviously even wider than that. We have ball opportunities from 8 to 22 to play ball, but then we focus in at ballparks on 11 to 14-year-olds. But we want to hit their kids. It was important to my wife as we got involved. We want the mom to have the ultimate experience. If the mom has fun, yes, everybody has fun. We want grandpa and grandma to come to have that opportunity. We want little sister to have this gigantic ice cream and have her moment that's amazing. So we've tried to hit every piece of that with what we do, and then getting that feedback and that word of mouth really matters.
You're tugging at my heartstrings right now because I often think the way to a ball player's heart is through their mom or through their caretaker, right? Moms are the ones driving you around. They're packing your snacks. They're taking you to and from. They approve the sleepover, right? Moms moms are the heartbeat, I feel, of youth and travel and prospects. And it's often the mom in the stands, right? And the dads at work. That's the dynamic that we see a lot, too, at Perfect Game. And so for you to be catering or making sure that they're taken care of, was that always a point of emphasis for you guys?
From day one for our group, as we took the place over, it was, if we can make mom happy, everyone will have a better experience. I mean, Dad's going to be thrilled about the Grand Slam, or he's going to be excited about a moment. Most of the time, that's a baseball moment. Our moms tell us repeatedly the best part of their week is the very first day when they get to be in the team suites, watch the kids come in and see their uniforms and see the setup, how they have this post-style locker, and really see their eyes light up. They tell us that's the moment. But then they have all these other moments, and we try to create 3 to 4 moments in a week that they're going to remember for a lifetime. That's the goal at every age, but if we can reach that mom, we can reach their kids, we can reach, and we can make everyone happy.
I want to go back to something you said, the pandemic. This is when you acquired the Ballparks of America, and those first few months, there's probably some question marks. There's maybe some worries, right?
Just didn't know when we would play ball, but we were playing by Memorial Day. We had a great first year. We really built on that in 21. We've built year over year, and really in 22 saw that opportunity to move into the high school opportunities. We're not really yet. We don't try to do what's done over in East Cobb or anywhere out there. What we're trying to do is create a similar experience for high school kids. We've got some relationships there with some tournament partners. We do some of our own, but we want kids to be able to who had a great experience at 12 in Branson to come back at 16 and play one of their tournaments in Branson. And then when they get through high school, we want them to have the opportunity to come back and play a summer season with our collegiate league. And so we've got a 16 collegiate league based out of our Show Me Baseball Park. So that it's really building relationships where an 8-year-old who comes with his older brother says, I want my team to come back at 12. And then the 12-year-old has a good enough experience. He tells his high school team, we want to come back at 15. And then he gets through and he's playing at a college somewhere and he's trying to figure out where am I going to spend my 4 to 5 weeks staying sharp in the summer. He comes back and plays with us in the summer.
I think something that is so unique to you all, though, that I don't know if anybody else has, is your replica, your replica ballparks at Wrigley, Fenway, Busch, Tiger Stadium, and Brooklyn's Ebbets Field.
I will tell you, we did switch a couple years back in 21. We moved to Kansas City, so we have Kansas City Field instead of Detroit.
Okay, you took the Tigers out. Tigers got the boot. Okay.
We did, and interestingly, it's something most people don't know. The specifications were the same as when some of those more cookie-cutter ballparks were being built. So Kansas City's Kauffman Stadium was essentially the same specs as the Tiger Stadium.
Okay.
And, with all the teams that come down to us, especially in the spring from Kansas City, they were wondering, why do you have St. Louis field as your feature stadium, and there's nothing here from Kansas City
I
at
have
all.
nothing wrong with
Right.
that.
Well, and it hasn't changed what our feature field is. I mean, we've got a gorgeous stadium, can host between 2,000 and 5,000 fans to watch our opening ceremonies and big events on that stadium.
Okay.
But then we now have Kansas City. So, yeah, those replica fields are unique. Little piece of history with an old Ebbets-style field. The Fenway is Boston's Park is, everyone loves that field because they want to hit it over the Green Monster.
I bet.
That's their dream. And then they all want to play on St. Louis Stadium with the arch in the field and the photo opportunities that it creates.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It's near and dear to my heart as well. I've only been to Branson one time, but I'd imagine there's a lot to do because we talk about this a lot with everybody, is that when you are going to a tournament, you are often turning it into your vacation. Branson, obviously a destination, there is so much to do there. So when families come, what do they get out of Branson?
Well, there's a bit of a misnomer on Branson from its prior past of being entirely a theater district, that type of deal. It has really become a family experience, a family destination experience. So through our summer, the kids come for 7 days. So during that 7 days, we don't keep them on campus the whole time. They sleep in our dorms, but we really push them out to partners. They'll go to the theme park for a day. They'll go to the water park for an afternoon. They'll go over and ride the Ferris wheel, giant Ferris wheel that used to be on the Navy Pier in Chicago. They'll race go-karts. We have on campus at our place, we have escape rooms, laser tag. We have a indoor facility for baseball. We also have with the Fungo Man pitching machines. We also have a high-end arcade along with a number of other opportunities. So we provide it, but we also push them out. They'll get out to do zip lines. They'll get out on the lake. We partner with a group that puts on a 40-person catamaran ride out on Table Rock Lake, which is one of the prettiest lakes in the country.
It is.
So they get those experiences. And that piece of it ties into our overall experience. You're not just coming to play a tournament. You're coming to get something for everyone in your family.
I mean, I can just see the excitement in kids' eyes when they hear all of the different things that they could do on top of playing baseball. But something that you guys have started to invest in is your summer collegiate league. So I would love to hear more about that.
Sure. The Show Me Collegiate League has existed for several years. It was based out of Springfield. We had the opportunity, as we acquired Show Me Baseball Park, to drop the W to go with the historic name of Show Me, one of the big three camps from back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Call it the Show Me Collegiate League without a W, SHO-ME. And this summer we're running 6 teams down there. The opportunity to stay in the dorms that are on campus for out-of-town folks, the opportunity to get a sports marketing, sports management, hospitality, photography internship. While they're there, work 10 to 15, 20 hours a week in that while still getting their 4 to 5 games. We're going to do instructional work during this where they'll have the opportunity to work we'll have top-end coaches, but also we'll bring in instructors who won't be coaching the day-to-day games, but will work with the high school guys. Well, we're looking at high school grads, rising sophomores, rising juniors, really focusing on the development side that's still continuing while you're in college. There's so much movement now in college baseball, folks moving from team to team.
Yeah.
Opportunities for kids to, maybe at the bottom of their roster on a team but want to work to that top point, or they may be at a lower school and they want to work to get to somewhere else. They may not even be placed somewhere yet, but want to get that experience and get better so that they can get that opportunity. We're going to work with them on that.
There's so many things and so many ways that you guys are growing. It feels like, things must be going really well. So when you come to ABCA, have you been inspired? Have you had some conversations that you feel like will be helpful?
Well, absolutely. I'm sitting here looking at one of the guys working with our collegiate league, Chris Talbert. He's standing out here, and I've watched him over the last 3 days. I've never met anybody who loves baseball more than Chris. He's our operations guy at Show Me and Ballparks, but he's going to be coaching in the collegiate league. His son plays college ball. He has just, every time he comes back to the booth after going out and interacting with folks, the eyes are twinkling, the smile's there. He's sharing another contact that he's made. We have that experience. We've got 8 folks here. We've built some great relationships. We have some things coming out of this that are going to be even more exciting. So we're pumped.
Is that him right there? In the hat?
Baseball Jesus.
Are you having the best time? Having a great time. You said he's having a great time out on the floor. I love that too, right? It's it's family, it's community, like the baseball people coming together. I feel the same way. It's such a great way to start the year, to be surrounded by people who are doing different things than you, or maybe they're in a similar avenue. But you guys, you've made it a point to make this a destination, to make this important in the baseball community, yes?
That's our thought is we love what's happening with baseball across the country. But we want to be different. We want to do something that is a little bit different than everybody else is doing, give you something that is memorable, give you something that is great baseball, but it's not just great baseball. It is something that is a part of our life. What I saw and why I got involved in this, I'm an attorney by day. You talked about the law firm
That's
that
right,
I work
yes.
with. Baseball family coaching from 8 to 13, and I stopped coaching when we got involved in this project 4 years ago. Those were our people. Those were the relationships. People have their friends, they have their social groups. Ours was our baseball family. And creating memories with those parents, with those other kids, the kids who are, even if they're not playing with my son, are still my son's best friends 4 or 5 years later.
Yeah.
They'll be his best friends even when he's in college. That was important to us. Let's cater to those people that's what matters to them. And they want to keep building those relationships. And yes, when they're picking their vacation for that year, and when they're saying, well, what are we going to spend the chunk of our money on, they're going to come to us, and they're going to want to get that experience. That's what we're doing.
We've talked a lot about the state of the game and where baseball is, and I think everyone agrees there's some growing pains going on right now, and we're learning a lot, and the sport is exploding in a good way, right? We're breaking our britches right now, and I think that's good. But as far as the state of the game goes, how much do you think about that when it comes to planning and what you're doing in Branson?
It's funny you asked that because my wife has the same conversation with me. She said, you spend a lot of time thinking about what's coming next.
Yeah.
What's happening right now, and how do we adjust to what's happening in baseball.
Yeah.
And, this collegiate league piece is a part of that. Some conversations we're having about what we're going to do in our shoulder seasons to be a part of the player development side and really be a hub. Our location, you talked about Branson, St. Louis.
Yeah.
Our location in the middle of the country gives a unique opportunity for people to come from all corners of the country, from down here in Texas, from Chicago, all reasonable driving distance for a lot of them, a shorter flight than going coast to coast.
Yeah.
We want to be a part of that opportunity for developing players, helping folks get better, while also still offering that experience in the summer that I've talked about.
All right, so again, we talked a little bit about what's coming up for you guys, the summer league that you have, and drawing people in. You want Branson and you want the Ballparks of America to be an international baseball destination. Are you branching out outside of?
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
So in August each year, we have a relationship with Babe Ruth League. And Babe Ruth League started when we did the first one. They go back to before we took over. They took off the year of COVID, but in 21, I think we had 26 or 27 teams, 7 that were from overseas. Mexico, Australia, Puerto Rico, Japan, all of that. This last year we had 9 or 10 international teams. They're expecting 12 this year. I've got a picture of my son from 19 who played in it with the Korea hat on, with the kid who's wearing his hat from the Branson team. We're going to do a second one. Babe Ruth League has awarded us a second contract to do the 16U International World Series. So they'll bring in 5 or 6 international teams to play, teams from all over the U.S. at our Show Me facility at the same time as the 12U. So we're expecting around 40 teams at that one, another 15 or so. Some of those teams say, hey, we want to come over a week early. We're going to do your tournament and stay in your facility so we acclimate before we play in that.
That's awesome.
So we add 2 or 3 of those teams to our 4-day tournament that precedes that one. And then for our local guys, we bring in teams to scrimmage against those international teams. They get that experience. My son will still tell you, striking out against several Japanese pitchers at 12 was one of the highlights of his baseball career, because it was just a lot of fun. So.
I love that. I love all of that. I'm obviously a little biased, but I love what you guys are doing. Branson, Missouri, the Ballparks of America. Paul Satterwhite, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we roll on the Perfect Game set here at the American Baseball Coaches Association on Perfect Game TV. We still have more to come this afternoon. Thanks for giving us some of your time. Coming up, we're going to hear from Corbin Carroll, an All-American here. Perfect Game obviously went to the World Series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. A little bit about how he got to where he is. That's coming up next.
wait for this one.
Your youngest recollection, when you thought, I can maybe do this, and what did it look like back then? When was that?
I'd say it was probably after my junior summer, kind of going into that senior year, having played against some of the best competition, getting a taste of what that was like, and kind of seeing how I stacked up. Went out there and played my game and had a pretty successful summer. That kind of led into a fall experience with the USA team, and I think just being around some of those elite players and seeing, obviously their talent, but also their process, and I think that was just very informative for me, and I think that was when I realized, like, hey, I think this might be, a real possibility.
I want to ask about the concept of a showcase. It can be any showcase, the one you went up to in 16, the national showcase. You were an underclass All-American. What was that like?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? It's not necessarily like real baseball per se, and the workouts, the try and create all these maxes and stuff like that, and I think that's more of there's kind of a coolness factor to that of like, hey. Guys at, on this level.
In the air, this is deep to left. Corbin Carroll has tied the ball game.
In a conversation we had that I listened to driving in, I asked you, it was a different conversation. I asked you, I'll give you $50. I'm going to buy you a ticket. Who do you want to go see watch play? Do you recall your answer? Because I'll tell you who it was if you don't recall.
I mean, my guess would be Bobby.
It was Jose Altuve.
Oh.
I give you $50. I give you $50. Here's the irony of the story, though. You getting it right doesn't matter. When we pulled up and we're unloading all this gear, there was a young man from Michigan who his dad, during spring break, took him to like 4 different ballparks. They went last night. As he walked away, he was wearing a Corbin Carroll jersey. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. You know, I had one of those moments personally last fall, going back home to Seattle after our season finished up. My mom and I went to that 18-inning Mariners game, that playoff game, and just seeing, you know, growing up, right, that would have been Felix jerseys, Griffey jerseys. I don't think his legacy will ever go away. You know, Edgar Martinez, and you know, that ballpark was filled with Julio Rodriguez jerseys, filled, and you know, just to see kind of that new wave of like guys you've played against, played with, kind of filling up these big league ballparks. That's pretty cool.
Do you have a favorite way to prepare for a game, or are there multiple ways as far as drills or regular BP? Is there, if I were to leave you with just 1 or 2 ways to prepare for a game, physically,
Yeah.
What are those?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much a big believer in kind of doing the same thing every day. You know, I was fortunate enough to spend a little bit of time with Ichiro, and you know, who's one of my heroes growing up, and you know, he was gracious enough to give you know a young Seattle kid a little bit of his time, and yeah, just shared some of what worked for him as a player, and you know, kind of all this wisdom he has, and that was his big piece of advice, and so I've taken that, you know, pretty much every day for me, at least, you know, hitting wise, it'll start with you know, tee in the cage, angled overhand toss, BP on the field, and then machine velo before the game. You know, in terms of outfield defense, it's the same thing every day. In terms of kind of prep in the weight room, again, just doing the same thing and having a consistent routine. I think it's kind of fundamental.
In the whole stacking up of importance, how important is the mind for a baseball player? Body matters for sure. The gifts God gave you matter for sure. But how important, describe the importance for you of the mind, not only using it to prepare, but also understanding how to clear it when it's done.
For sure. Our mental skills guy gave us a quote that I really like and kind of stuck with me, and it's, you know, you can't overtrain the body to kind of compensate for an undertrained mind, and I believe that fully. You know, you got to find what's right for you. For me, it's there's, you know, this year it's been a little bit more focused on breath. You know, it's mindfulness and meditation, but just finding what works for you, I think is obviously important.
Thank you, pal. Thank you so
Sweet.
much. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely.
Really bumped your head there.
Thank you.
All right, that was Darren Sutton with Corbin Carroll. We know National League player, Rookie of the Year, went to the World Series with the Diamondbacks and part of our All-American game a few years ago. Welcome back to The Set Live from the Gaylord Grapevine, Texas, at the 80th edition of the American Baseball Coaches Association. I am so excited as we roll on incredible conversations. Wade Martinez is joining us, founder of Spring Scorpions. Wade, welcome to the set.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. It looks like you got a crowd out there. You got some fans, some friends. Who are all those guys out there?
Those are several of our coaches and my son.
And your son.
Correct.
What's your son's name?
Landon.
Landon, raise your hand. Landon, you excited to be here? Yeah, awesome. All right, we're going to have a great conversation. And I just want to start because 80 years of ABCA, I'm always so fascinated to know how many years have you been coming here?
I think maybe 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay, so you're not a rookie anymore. You're starting to advance a little bit. What are some of the to-do list items when you come here?
So, see who you want to see. So go through and find all the speakers you want. But a lot of what I think you get here is, of course, there's 8,000 coaches, so there's a vast array of knowledge. What I've found is a lot of times it is the speakers, but then all the other guys, everybody here wants to help. They all have the same kind of common goal. A few years ago when we were just getting going, I was and had just started the club, I found myself at the ABCA in Nashville.
Okay.
And one of the vendors had invited us out to, free barbecue, so we all went.
Of course.
And then once we're there, they had a panel of guys, and they spoke to us, and they were good. And as we got back to the Opryland at maybe 11 o'clock at night, I saw one of the guys that had been on the panel talking, and I said, "Hey, great job tonight. Really appreciate you sharing." And he then said, "Let's sit down." And he sat at a couch there at the lobby of the Opryland Hotel for 2 hours. He was a guy from Mississippi, had about 200 players in his program, but changed my life. He helped so much and got us going on the right path in our organization, because I used many of his ideas. And as we keep coming back every year, it's more of that same story of guys just wanting to help and help our club. And a lot of what we do now is from the ABCA.
It is a fountain of knowledge, right? You are literally walking through national championship caliber coaches. You're walking through coaches who are in every corner of this country at some level of the game. There's obviously major league guys here. There's somebody from every space. And for you to say that you had a life-changing, an organization-changing conversation here really does speak volumes to what happens at ABCA.
For sure. And every year it's just you pick up other nuggets, and often they're that way. They're guys that just want to help. So everybody's friendly, open, and obviously everybody has a different story and brings some knowledge to us.
The past 2 days, I'm sure you've had that experience here. Did you get to hear any of the speakers?
I did. We seen many of them. I'll tell you, Coach Esker from Stanford.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, he said something. He goes, I want to be part of an organization where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It equals 3 or 4. And that really resonated. Blow your mind? Well, it resonated with me a lot, because at our club I really focus on you can train, and then you can compete and then repeat, and that's what baseball is a lot. At Scorpions, we really try to do a whole lot more to get 1 + 1 to equal 4. Our kids, I want them to have an experience and grow up and have a lot more than just they played baseball. So we do a lot of things like our spring training, which are ideas that came from here as well. But that's 2 weeks of our whole staff really working with the kids and training them things like our One Goal program, which is to be the best student, athlete, and teammate that you can be. And we wear that on our sleeves on all our practice stuff. So that's something that we start ingraining in there. And then in our club, we do a lot of other things like we go to a Rice tailgate party, which is baseball, but they go there and they play Frisbee and they have a good time before. Yeah. So we're getting more than just baseball into it. We do a kickball party every year. So this all makes to our culture that I think is really adding up to the 4. The kickball party, now that we've grown, and I think we're going to be over 50 teams this year, we have 1,000 people probably come this year to a kickball tournament. Our kids all compete, and they have food and beverage, and that makes it more of an experience for the kids. The other thing that this kind of all leads to is one of what we call our open dugout program.
Okay.
So, and in our organization, if I'm coaching a 14U team and we have a break and I've got one of our 8 or 9-year-old teams there, I'll take our 14-year-old players over to the field and they'll cheer for them, but in their dugout. So now they're in the dugout and they're on the fence, and it works the other way too. Our little guys will go over to our older players. We do keep them kind of at one end, but then they'll get up, and then all of a sudden they're making up nicknames for each other, the little ones and the older ones. So it really creates this awesome, bigger than just one team on an island in our organization. And then you get them back to the facility, and they're fist pumping and high fiving with, 8-year-olds and 13-year-olds and all around. So that's kind of one of the things we get out of here. But when Coach Esker said that yesterday, and he was talking about culture, that was really resonating with me.
He's one of my favorites. Anytime you have a conversation, you leave, and I feel like you're smarter, you're well-rounded. There's something that he gives to you always. He's so giving in that way. But what I'm hearing from you is that culture has become one of the most important things, if not the most important thing for the Scorpions and what you're trying to build here. So do you have pillars? Like, what do you base your culture around?
Well, again, like I was saying, it's the one goal. So we start with that. And the first thing every Scorpion learns is to be the best teammate, player, and student that you can be. And then beyond that, it's really a culture of family. We really don't put teams on an island. They know, our coaches know, we interact, we have events throughout the year. So that's really where we go with our culture.
The past 2 days, we're day 3 now, last day of ABCA. Have you had a chance, you talked to Coach Esker, you listened to some speeches, but are there other things that you feel like you can take and implement with you this season?
Oh, absolutely. We take notes and we fill it up, and our whole staff does. So we get back.
They got full notebooks over there?
They do, and we get back, and there's we have a meeting, and what can we implement, and lots of new training programs. And then we go to the show where we just left, and we bought new pitching machine, we bought new tees, we bought new training aids, little bats, fielding gloves that we'll use during our spring training. So those are some of the takeaways for sure that we get from there.
I love that. As far as the ways that you guys want to grow this year, we've talked a little bit about the culture. I've had deep conversations about the state of the game and where we're at with the youth level. And I'm so passionate because I've never seen more interest or more care about the youth game and what are these kids getting out of it, not just on the baseball side, but how are we growing them as young men? How are we making sure that what they're taking here, they're taking to life? And you are doing that, it sounds like, through your culture and your pillars. But the growth, is there something you would like to see from your program or organization this year?
Yeah, in our program, we like to win like everybody does, but we do it organically and with our players. And at all levels, mostly, as we get into it, we have a staff that trains from the top down. So, and it's all the same. If you're a AAA player or a major player, it's the same program. It's the same. Now we'll modify it a little bit, but we're training all of our players equally, to get through it. And then when we go compete, we take our teams and we're organically going and competing there. And I think that's our model, and I like it. And it's kids building relationships, and I think you get a lot more out of that long term. In producing young men as they go out into it. They've been with their friends. They've enjoyed the experience of baseball a lot. We also do a lot of bringing in other trainers. So, we'll have Steve Springer, who's one of my favorites and good friend of mine now. Nate Trotsky was just with us in Houston this past weekend, and then he drove up here from Houston. I'll name drop here. Paul Yanish is a guy. We had Paul Yanish who was with us over the winter, working with a lot of our infielders. Jason Klein is another infield coach that was with us, and he's with Trotsky now. And then we bring in some, pro guys, college guys. Trevor Warner worked with our infielders over the winter. He just got drafted and was at A&M for 4 years. So
very familiar.
And then our own guys coming back and working with players. So we really invest a lot in training and coaching and having them around our kids. And all our coaches and all those guys are good influences on our boys. So, I think having good coaches in front of our youth division or youth kids and is really awesome.
There's no doubt. There's some special parts to it as well, and I know that with winning comes trophies and things of that nature. Tell me a little bit about what you guys have and maybe how you display it.
Oh yeah. So our trophy cases.
Yes,
so
please.
When I built our first facility, one of our coaches, Mike Harris, and I were sitting down. We had this idea to build a trophy case that spelled out win. So I had this engineer friend who had retired from Shell, and he had a woodworking shop, and he volunteered to build us a trophy case that's about maybe 8 foot tall, 30 foot long.
Oh my gosh.
That was 5 years ago.
A lot of room to win, right?
Well, and our boys have done well with that. We won hundreds of trophies, and they filled it up. Then we built a new facility this past year out in Katy called Scorpions Ranch.
Okay.
And at the Scorpions Ranch, we built another probably 8 foot by 20, 25 foot trophy case in the shape of a home plate. And they're both painted red, backlit, and they're really cool. And those boys are working hard to fill those trophy cases up. But something we did about a year ago, we started making these little metal 8x8 plates or plaques for our committed, players once they are committed to a college. So, and we'd put their picture on it, and then we'd put it actually has a little PG logo because we're sponsored with PG.
Yes.
And then it would, and then it'd have the school they're going to, it'd have their high school, and it's really neat. My daughter did the design on them all, and we started making these, and then we'd put them at our spring facility. As you're going out, they're kind of on the wall there, and they're 8x8, all squared up. And then at our Scorpions Ranch, we put them around the weight room. And this year, I think we're probably 20, 25 kids get committed. So when they're all displayed up there, it's getting full, and it's going to continue as we keep continuing to grow. But for me and for the coaching staff, that's our trophy case, because it's so cool to see these kids that are going off and playing and getting their dream. And it's not just going off to, a D1 school or this or that. For us, it's going, and what we try to do is get them to go to a place that they're going to like, that's socially the right fit for them, economically, geographically, a place where they like and they're going to have a good experience. And we're having a lot of success with that. Share one story. We had a boy this past year, Braden Caldwell.
Okay.
He had decided he was going to be a welder. And he'd been with us for a few years, and he's going to go to welding school. But he's a good ball player, good kid. And we talked to him, and we ended up finding a school, Oklahoma Westland.
Okay.
Which is NAIA school.
Yeah.
And he was back for the holidays. Loves it. And that's where we've taken a boy that wasn't really going to play, but now we've got him to a school. He liked it for, religious reasons and other stuff. That's why he chose it. But that's like one of the coolest things we're getting out of
proud moment.
All of this is seeing that kind. Now we have kids at D1s, and those are great too. If it's the right fit for them. So, a big part of our recruiting is getting kids in the right spot for them. And that takes a little bit of work. So.
I think it's of the utmost importance, to be honest, though, the direction that we're going with the sport. So I'm so glad that you guys make that a priority and that we got a chance to learn a little bit more about you all and what you bring to the table. So thank you for giving us some time this afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Wade Martinez, founder of Spring Scorpions. Awesome to see what you guys are doing. We have a lot more to come here, though, on our set live from Grapevine, Texas, the American Baseball Coaches Association. When we return, Chapman head coach Scott Laverty is going to join us. Can't wait for that. All on Perfect Game TV.
What's going on, guys? I am with Soldier Sports, and they just newly released their Tank BB Core Drop 3. The pop is insane. It's got an incredibly good feel. Feels a little bit like a voodoo with that balance feel. The hand is great, little flare knob. But we're going to take some swings here, check out some extra videos, and see how it tests. 97. 99. So as you can see, this thing's hot. It's got great feel. I'm really loving it. So go check it out. Soldier Sports US. Let's go.
Being in the wild is best when you're with your family. We do all kinds of different things at camp. Go fish, surf, dive. I think I'll probably be coming out here the rest of my life.
All right, welcome back to the American Baseball Coaches Association. The hall is full. There are a lot of people walking around right now. We got the expo right next to us. Our set here for Perfect Game live on Perfect Game TV. We have more conversations, so many good guests and friends, those of the baseball community joining us right here. Scott Laverty, Chapman head coach, 25 years coming to ABCA. 25.
Awesome. My first one in Atlanta. I was actually just starting coaching, but I was also working for a catalog company called Western Athletic, which sold baseball and softball equipment. So as I was, hey, what's up, guys? I was selling equipment in the morning and then going to the baseball field, in the afternoon to coach. So, so I started. And then here I was helping down in the trade show, and then I was running up to see you guys speak and try and learn here at the convention as well.
Who just shouted you out?
That was one of my former players. One of my former players at Redlands, Chris Holcomb. I got you, Holtz.
Wow.
He's a super successful high school coach in the Phoenix area, and so that's the great thing about being here. You get to see people that maybe you don't quite see as much as you'd like.
It's by far my favorite thing because you walk around and sometimes you know who's coming. You're like, okay, I know X, Y, and Z will be here, obviously, because it's ABCA. And then sometimes you see people you didn't know you were going to see. And it's my favorite thing because you have that conversation, like you said. Maybe you see them 1 or 2 times a year or you don't. And this is it. You can't walk very far without seeing someone you know. What's it been like just the past 2 days for you?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, just the air and everything. The ABCA is growing so fast and so positively in so many areas, diversity, inclusion, everything. And what we stand for is really neat. And it's something that people can get behind. And so I think that's why you see what you see, the growth, the camaraderie. And the clinics are great and the speakers are great. But every coach will tell you 75% of the stuff you learn here is just walking around talking, eating together, at night. And so it's just all of that encompasses such a neat thing.
Do you remember maybe some of your earlier years walking around and were you starstruck? Was there a coach or someone within baseball that you got to meet or that you saw that you thought the world of?
Yeah. There were several. Seeing, just some of the Division I coaches, Mark Johnson, Keith Madison, who are all board members, Ron Frazier, a lot of the, just the pillars of the time, and then just wanting to be, like them. And then for me, I was like, I want to do that. I want to, early on I set a goal. I'm going to speak on the main stage, and I got to do that 5 years here. In 2019 when we were here, I spoke on the main stage, and so, I remember sitting there doing those things and saying, okay, I want to be like them, and I want to do this, and so it's really inspirational.
Yeah, and I think what's awesome is that anyone can come through here and feel the same exact way that you did and know that it's achievable and it's something they can do, which I also think speaks to the greater baseball community, the growth of what you're talking about as well. But at the Division III level, before we sat down, you were really excited because there's been some major breakthroughs. And I want to talk about those and dive in because I do think what is so important for our sport is that we keep growing and changing and evolving. And while sometimes it's uncomfortable and we don't love all the different changes, there has been a major breakthrough for you at the D3 level. Tell me about it.
Yep, and one of the things I want to preface this by saying is I think don't think many people know that D3 is the most baseball played across the country. There are 382 teams that play Division III baseball. There are about 300 Division I schools and about 220, I think, Division II schools. So by a big number, there's more D3 baseball played out there than than anything in any other Division III. So for a long time, our falls have been a little bit more limited. We've had less time, less contact with our players. And this actually really kind of came out of COVID. So it is one good thing that kind of came out of COVID. But, we were able to basically triple the fall time that we had with our players, getting more connection. We were fighting hard for, out in California, we had 8 days. I got 2 weeks and 8 days of practice during the fall. Some of the, because I had to maneuver some games so that we could play enough games in the spring. Some of the Midwest teams and East Coast teams, they got 3 or 4 weeks of same thing, only 4 days a week. So they might get 12 or 16 practice. It's not enough. But throw baseball out of the equation. It's not enough for the connection that we need to help our players in retention, just keeping them in school. How are you doing in school? Are you struggling in a class? And then, the big buzzword now, mental health.
Sure.
I mean, keeping them healthy. And so, especially here in the Midwest and East, they come and practice right away in the fall, and they might be done by, end of October, and then there's November, December. So you're throwing your kids out there, and okay, I'll see you in 3 months when we start in February. So that's not healthy, for the athlete. So it was a tremendous change that's been, like I said, I don't think anybody wants to go back, and it's allowed us to manipulate and give us autonomy each school, because there's some schools that are different. Just my favorite example, and Coach Christoph Albans at Stevens is a good friend of mine. They share their facility with their soccer. The soccer field is in their outfield. So he had to pick weeks before to try, with soccer. Well, now he gets autonomy just to use days, and that's the big change. And so he can look at the soccer schedule and go, okay, well, there's nobody here this week. Right. They're on the road, both teams, so I could actually practice. So it really gave autonomy to each university to maximize, what they needed, and then give us the time that we need with our players. So it's one of the biggest breakthroughs in a long, long time.
What was the player feedback? I would imagine that they were just as excited.
Yes, no, they were excited. They're screaming for more time. I mean, Division III athletes, they're good students. I don't have to worry about them being academically eligible or so they're going to get the job done in the classroom and be able to manage their time. And so they wanted more time. They wanted us to be able to coach them more, because that's a big thing. I mean, you get to college, you might have class from 9 to 10 on Monday and Wednesday, Friday. That's it.
Right.
So you have the time to be able to do it. Yeah. So they're excited as well, for sure.
All right. So among that, I mean, you also have been building back since the pandemic, going into the third full season since then. What was it like building the last 2 years just back from the pandemic and then getting a full season? Because that's a lot. It's a lot for the staff. It's a lot for the kids. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yep. And there's still, and I think there's still another full year of impact from the pandemic on eligibility.
Yeah.
So there's still people that are trying to, work through that. But the last year and two have felt more normal again. Sure. What the pandemic did is just made adjustments and different things that we do as a society that now are just kind of the norm. Sometimes you're sick, you wear a mask. People like traveling with masks. People don't like.
Sure.
It gives you the autonomy, but it just gives you some more insight into how things changed to what we needed to do to adapt. And as a society, we've adapted again, and we'll keep moving. So the last year, especially two, have felt more normal again. With just the new norm of some things. Hey, kids are sick at practice, go home.
Yeah. Right.
And because I think the one thing that it helped us really understand is there's still a cold out there.
Yeah.
And there's still something called the flu.
Yes.
And those still don't make you feel good, and you don't want it to spread so that nobody can perform at their best. So it heightened awareness on some of those things, but now, again, those are part of the norm, and so I think now we can adjust, and it's felt more normal again, for sure.
My favorite thing about the game, and even though it's not always pretty, is that you're always learning something new. You could go to a game and see something new for the very first time every single time. And so I'm sure your knowledge has doubled, tripled since the pandemic, because you didn't even know that this could be a thing that you were going to navigate, right? And 11 years now going into as the head coach here for Chapman, and you know so much, but how do you leverage this space when you have been doing this for so long?
That is my favorite question. Because I spoke at the rookie coaches mentoring session on Thursday night. Fantastic. I mean, we had probably had 250
oh my gosh.
New coaches in there, and there was a panel of us just talking about our experiences. But that's my favorite question, because this is when I come here, the only difference between somebody with experience in any realm, business, whatever it might be, the only difference between people usually is their experiences.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got 25 years of experience, so that's afforded me to see a few more things, learn a few more things. But it doesn't mean we know everything.
Right.
But what you do as you start to learn, and you have so many things, one of the neatest things to do as a learner is when I go and sit and I want to listen to everybody, I want to talk to everybody. But the neatest thing you do as a learner, especially as an experienced learner, is when somebody says something that you do and that you do well already, you go, yes. I do that. I still do that.
Yeah.
So it's that reinforcement now. So it might not necessarily be as many new things, but it's the reinforcement of the things that you do, and you know, okay, yes, I'm doing
validation included
correct.
in that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Okay.
a perfect word for it. That being validated that, hey, I'm still doing the right things, because especially now. So this is going to be my 28th year as a college coach overall, and so you know, I'm getting older. You know, I'm 52. The players are still 18. Yeah, thank you.
No.
Yeah. The players are always 18 to 22.
Right.
You know, and so staying relevant with them and doing those things. And so part of that, you know, information that we're getting is just validating, you know, what we've already known, some of the things that we do, maybe some of the things that we've adjusted. So that's one of my favorite questions is going, everybody says, well, you're a lifelong learner. Well, how does that happen? Well, part of it is just being validated by that you're doing the right thing.
And I think that what comes with that too, though, to have success in that is to be adaptable and malleable and be willing to know that maybe you don't know everything, or maybe someone else knows a better way to do it. So in that realm, do you take that same vein and apply it to your athletes, that their validation and reinforcement and making sure that they know, hey, I know you know what you're doing, but let's reinforce it. Let's do it well, and then we can validate what you're doing. Does that work hand in hand?
Especially in baseball, and especially in hitting, you know, where it's the toughest thing to do in any sport. You have to find all of those ways to validate what they're doing. You know, they could step up the plate and hit the ball as hard as they can right at the shortstop, 100-mile exit velo and all this stuff, but the shortstop goes like this, and you're out. And they're going, gosh, what do I got to do? But you have to continue to do that, and so you have to validate them in helping them understand, hey, just now try and do that again, and try and do that, and if you can do that consistently, it's going to go through eventually.
What do you think is your biggest key to success? We're wrapping up here, but I want to make sure I ask you this, because I do feel like the knowledge you have is worthy of being shared to as many people as we can. What's the key to success, if you could narrow it down to a few, maybe?
I hope that everybody would say that I'm a genuine person, that you know, that I care about my players, and I want them to just be good human beings. So that's the starting point, that I care about them, and that I want to model what it means to be you know, a good person. From a coaching perspective, one of the things that's always driven me is, what does it take for me to be successful?
Yeah.
It's not the success itself. So it's a process. That's a word that I use a lot. The process orientation. What do we need to do to execute whatever it is we're doing, and make that our priority, and let winning and losing, success or not success, base hit or not a base hit, be a byproduct. And if I just continue to work on the process of what it takes for me to be a good human being, for me to be a good baseball coach, for me to be a good baseball player, then if I do that correctly, I'm probably going to end out on the better side more than the worse side.
I'm taking notes. I honestly don't know. Darren Sutton was running around the trade show yesterday, but I don't know who's having more fun, to be honest. I feel like you're exuding that you are having the best time here, and I'm just so grateful. I always love catching up with you and talking baseball with you, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to run into Darren, too, yesterday.
Did you?
And he's going to call the Wildcats game.
He is?
And I played my freshman year at the University of Arizona, so I'm a huge fan. So let's go Cats.
Ties.
Bear
there
down.
We go.
Bear
yes,
down.
You can watch Darren later tonight. You can stick with us here on Perfect Game TV. We have more coming up, of course. Again, Chapman head coach Scott Laverty, thank you so much.
Good seeing you. Thanks.
Always. All right, coming up right here on Perfect Game TV, we are so excited. Chris Hanks, Colorado Mesa is going to join us right here on the set as we continue on day 3, the American Baseball Coaches Association. We'll be right back.
What's going on, guys? I am with Soldier Sports, and they just newly released their Tank BB Core Drop 3. The pop is insane. It's got an incredibly good feel. Feels a little bit like a voodoo with that balance feel. The hand is great, little flare knob. But we're going to take some swings here, check out some exit velos, and see how it tests. 97. 99. So as you can see, I mean, this thing's hot. It's got great feel. I'm really loving it. So go check it out. Soldier Sports US. Let's go.
Being in the wild is the best when you're with your family. We do all kinds of different things at camp. Go fish, surf, dive. I think I'll probably be coming out here the rest of my life.
Excited. Skip Hanks, head coach at Colorado Mesa, the chair of Division II baseball for ABCA. Welcome to the set.
Thanks for having me.
I have to know, because I see here you're entering your 25th season as head coach. So how many years, though, with ABCA?
Let's see, 31 or 32.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Okay, so 3+ decades.
Yep.
So you've seen a lot. You've met a lot. I love to know. I love a good story. I'd love to hear when you were first coming here and you're doe-eyed and you're looking around at all the coaches and all the people. Was there a person in particular that you met or you wanted to meet that made you a little starstruck?
Well, you know, the best talk I ever heard was in 1993, I believe it was, and I believe it was in Dallas. It was Skip Burtman, LSU.
Of course.
Winning the big one or something like that was his topic, and that was impactful. And I still remember a great hitting talk by Mike Schmidt where he came on, and as I remember correctly, he came up with a bat in his uniform, and he said, "Chop wood, chop wood, chop wood." And he said, "Any questions?" And I mean, that was his talk.
No.
And people passed the mic around and asked him questions.
Do you find it kind of incredible that we get to listen to things like that or meet people? Anyone can come here, right? You can come here, you can get your badge, and then hear from the national champion or the guru of hitting. All of these resources at your fingertips.
Well, yeah. If you're a serious coach at any level, I don't know why you wouldn't become a member and get involved. And you know, I've made my best effort every time I've come to listen to every speaker, and I mean, you can pick up something from just about everybody.
I'd imagine, too, that you get to take some of this and bring it back to Colorado Mesa as well. So let's just focus on the 2 days here. Have you had a specific conversation or met somebody who gave you something that you can introduce or just had a good conversation with that maybe you can implement this year?
Well, I think what I find now at my point in my career is, you know, there's not a lot new. There's stuff reinvented. You know, there's a lot of, with the technology and stuff, I'm more of an old school coach than a new school coach. So, you know, my biggest efforts right now is trying to adapt to some new things, find out where we can implement them to help.
Okay.
I don't think they're an end-all, but I think they can be helpful. And, I have to lean on actually some younger generation to say, how does this stuff work? As, on my own staff, I have a graduate assistant who is a player for me, who's a tech-savvy guy. I mean, he's in charge of, A, running the new equipment, and B, teaching me. And so, but I think it's more of a, when you listen to some good speakers, some highly successful coaches, I find myself seeing some of their ideas, thoughts, and it really triggers thoughts. You take little bits and then tweak it that fits your own situation.
Well, I'd imagine, too, maybe it's the opposite of what I said. Maybe people are coming to you because you've been doing it for so long. What are the frequently asked questions to you?
Well, I guess the most often one would be, we've had a lot of success at our school over a lot of years, and we've maintained it. And I've always said that, and I've always believed, my dad was a high school football coach, highly successful in the state of Colorado. He was my high school coach. Winning's hard. Winning consistently is even harder, especially as people are highly motivated to knock you off and you become a target. And so one of the questions is, how do you maintain it?
Yeah.
And those are most of the discussions that I get into with people.
Something you just said, too, talking about being maybe more old school,
yeah,
but having people on your staff. How do you make sure that you're keeping up with the generation of kids that are coming in, the new technology that's coming out? How do you make sure you've got that for yourself?
Well, you have to dive in. And you learn real quickly, I guess, if you're smart, that resisting new stuff or new generations just isn't going to work. Remaining in the old school. I think we all have a great model in the football world of Nick Saban at Alabama. He's an old school coach, and he's shown great adaptability to all the new things that have come upon the college football landscape.
The record that you have, your overall record, kind of punched me in the face a little bit. 1,031 wins, just 395 losses. That's a 722 winning percentage. So you talk about the consistency. What's been the key for you?
Well, I think the consistency is one in your coaching staff. I've been fortunate to have a staff that's been together for a lot of years. We've had very few changes. Most of the change we've had were additions in the form of a graduate assistant. Most of them have played for me. Everybody understands the system, the expectations. I believe it all begins with expectations. You set those, and then how do we arrive at those expectations? And we have a saying, in our program, as coaches, we're either coaching it or we're letting it happen, one of the two things. And I think a big failure that a lot of coaches make, in my opinion, myself at times, is you allow things to occur. You walk past a mistake. You walk past a behavior that isn't conducive or wanted within the organization, and you have to have the strength to, fix those things. So you're either coaching or you're letting it happen. I think consistency of message, staff, the ability to adapt where need be, and set a standard and demand that kids reach it.
Do you change your expectations per year? Do you take a little piece and keep one part consistent and then adjust another? How does that work for your program?
Well, we're always adjusting and tweaking. Everything we begin with is foundational in terms of how are we going to operate as a team. We're going to have a great understanding between the coaching staff and the players. We'll start our season Wednesday. We start up, the players return. And
you excited?
Yeah, I am. Oversighted, no problem. I have trouble shifting gears.
Yeah.
And so, but we begin with, people call it team building or building your culture. We let our players have a great level of ability to help with the design of that. Now, we have a framework, and we have some things that we believe strongly in, and we simplify it as much as we can. I mean, we look, our two main things, we want to out-team our opponents and out-compete them. It's as simple as that. We don't look at the scoreboard. So at the end of a game, we try to assess, did we out-team them? We have a definition of what that looks like, what it acts like, what it feels like. We have a framework, but we let the players, so we'll have meetings, we'll say, hey, we're going to trade out team people. What does that mean to you guys? We break them into groups. They come back, they report, we discuss, we eliminate, we add. And at the end, the players are responsible for, when we say we're going to out-team them, they know exactly what that means or what it needs to look like. It doesn't always happen because we don't win every game. And then we talk about competing. What does that mean? And we take a deep dive and in coming up with our own definition. If I out-compete you, if I'm a pitcher and you're a hitter, how do I out-compete you or vice versa? And what does that look like? And the players help come up with that. So when we say compete to a player, they know what it means. And they've bought in, they've helped develop what that definition is.
I find that so fascinating. And what I want to know, too, maybe a little behind the scenes, if you will, peek behind the curtain, is your trial and error. Because I'd imagine now, you've been doing this for so long, is that there are processes you tried to implement that did not work. But how much time do you give a new process or give a new, how do we find our edge? What does it mean to compete? What does it mean to do X, Y, and Z? How do you figure that out?
Well, for example, we come to conferences. I meet with coaches all the time. My favorite thing in coaching is probably team building.
Okay.
And, we really spend a lot of time looking at what wins and what loses.
Okay.
And I love evaluating in other sports. I'm probably more of a football person than a baseball person at heart.
At heart.
Because I grew up, my dad being a football coach, and I played for him in different things. But there are some consistent things that win and that lose. And I think that if you address those, you're attentive to them, you work to not do those things. And some of them, it's not just as simple as, don't commit an error. I mean, some of those things just happen. But there's right ways to deal with players in success and failure. There's right ways to deal with teams, win or lose. There's ways that help teams win going into a series after a tough loss, or maybe a big series win. We got to assess what gives them the best opportunity to win next time out. What's that approach look like? And evaluating those things is what I spend the most time on.
Are you going to write a book? Do you have a book?
No.
When are you going to write a book?
I'm not smart enough.
You got to write a book.
All my stuff is stolen from a million coaches of different sports.
We can find an author. It's all right. We'll get a ghostwriter for you. That's okay. Yeah, Jim Jenks is volunteering. Jim Jenks is here, our executive producer, overseeing everything, volunteering to do that for you. What do you think? Can Jenks do it?
Jenks can do it.
Jenks can do it. All right, Jenks, you're in. Sold.
I don't know him that well, but he did craft a well-written email to me.
Oh, well-written email. Did he say best wishes at the bottom?
I can't remember, but I do remember grammatically correct. Punctuation was on spot.
Wow. There he is.
Creative adjectives and things like that. So, and the directions to where I needed to come today were spot on. I had no trouble getting here.
He has no problem. He's very good at communication. He keeps us on point. He makes sure that we go where we're supposed to and do what we're supposed to always. All right, Jim Jenks, that's enough of that. I have one more for you now that we've thoroughly embarrassed him. Listen, we had to get you on cam, Jim. All right, you're looking fresh over there. You are the chair of Division II baseball for ABCA. So clue me in a little bit on what's been going on in that regard.
Well, in Division II, we're trying to affect some legislation to improve our game. My objective, accepting this role, because it adds a little more to your plate, not a ton, but a little. I have a passion for just making things better.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of areas that Division II baseball needs to improve. In terms of, for example, we were a couple years ago, the NCAA reduced us down from 20 practice hours a week in the fall non-championship segment to 15.
Yeah.
Division I's still at 20, and for the sport of baseball, it's not enough time.
Right.
I mean, the NCAA will talk about student-athlete experience, and I believe part of that experience is the people we coach largely came to school. They came to get a degree. We recruit guys who want to get degrees, but they came to play baseball too. And I understand there's a point in time where coaches can be abusive with players' times, but 20 hours is not abusive. And 15 is abusive, in my opinion, the other direction. Because the guys don't understand, Coach, why can't we stay out here longer? Why can't we? And those are hard questions to answer from a guy who's hungry, eager, and wants to play his sport. So we're going to try to get those hours back up to 18. We got limited years ago from 56 games to 50. we're asking to get 2 games back, get it to 52.
Okay.
Again, they didn't just come to practice; they came to play games.
Right.
And so small incremental increases. Those are just a couple of ideas, but when I talk about improving it, I firmly believe that improves our game, and I really nobody can convince me otherwise.
Well, I can hear the passion in your voice.
Yeah.
And, we just had Scott Laverty on as
Yep.
well and talking about that exact same situation and that you need more time. It's not just for, how do you square around a bunt? It's not just to feel the ground ball. It's to work with the player and the person and make sure that they know you care about them as a human. And 15 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours often does not feel like enough time. So I can hear the passion in your voice. I'm so grateful that we got some time to catch up and hear more about it. But thank you for joining us on set.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. All right, Chair of Division II Baseball for ABCA, head coach at Colorado Mesa, Skip Hanks, joining us on set. And we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up our coverage here. Grapevine, Texas, the 80th edition of the American Baseball Coaches Association. Rob Wooten is going to join us right here on set, founder and CEO of C35 Baseball. We're right here on Perfect Game TV. Don't go anywhere.
Oh yeah. Wait for this one. I never let myself believe that I was gonna be in the big leagues. I always worked for it until I achieved it. Back in Puerto Rico, I remember my dad would hit me ground balls from the top of the hill. That forced me to always move my feet. There were no limits to where I could go, so I played with no limits.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no else, gotta get it, no call it quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with hard hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
on Perfect Game TV, but I have had such a blast, and we have been so grateful to be joined by so many incredible guests, days 1 and 2, and almost all the way through day 3. You can go on Perfect Game and listen to all of these conversations, from Jay Johnson, the national champion head coach, to Scott Laverty at Division III head coach there. We have had everybody in between. Yesterday was jam-packed, by the way. If you missed it, Bobby Witt Jr. and his dad, Bobby Witt, joined set with Darren Sutton. Hunter Pence was here with us too. What a blast it was to have him. But one of my favorite things about getting to be here and at this event is not only do we start the year with baseball, we get to start the year with these conversations that spark throughout the rest of the year, and finding out how do you win? What's the championship mentality? What's that level of play you have to get to? But there's not just one way. You can walk through this hallway. You can't get very far, by the way. You walk 5 feet and you run into someone that you know, or have a conversation that allows you to maybe change the course of your career. Wade Martinez from Spring Scorpions said that he had a conversation here 5 years ago that changed the direction of his program. And I just can't imagine how impactful, how meaningful that would be for somebody to have an opportunity like that. I got a chance to catch up with Matt Blood. He's the vice president of player development and scouting, domestic scouting for the Baltimore Orioles. And what the Orioles have done, we've watched their organization grow. But he's here walking around, and you know the amount of college coaches that are here, the high school coaches that are here, and they're watching what the Orioles are doing, the way that farm system has grown. So we got to learn a little bit more about that. I also got to talk to Wake Forest pitching coach Corey Mascara about what they've done. We saw what they did, their run to Omaha. They're building back this year. How exciting for their program, but for the ACC, and watching the development of the game. We talked to high school coaches, travel ball programs, college coaches, and to see what's happening at the youth level. The youth game has never been more important in my eyes. But what's great about the American Baseball Coaches Association is everyone coming together to learn from each other. There's no gatekeeping here, right? Everybody wants you to know how we did it, how we're getting there. By the way, the trade floor, the expo has been incredible. 350 plus different vendors who were out there, the hats, the gear, the technology. I took a couple swings in the cage, if you want to go back and watch me embarrass myself the other day. That was a blast as well. But we just have a great time getting to know who's in this baseball community. And we've got one more guest coming up for you as we wrap up our coverage live from the Gaylord, Grapevine, Texas, and the ABCA. Rob Wooten is going to join us. He is with C35. So on the other side, Rob will join us right here on Perfect Game TV. Thanks for spending your morning and now afternoon with us. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah. Can't wait for this one.
Rob Wooten, the founder and CEO of C35 Baseball. Rob, welcome to the set.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we saved the best for last year. I'm so
That's right.
excited to catch up. How many ABCAs have you been to?
This is my first.
Your first. Okay, so how is it rookie season? What's it been like?
It's an incredible venue, number one. But just walking the halls and seeing so many people that I played with, coached for, coached to, and people in the industry now that we associate with. It's an incredible experience, number one, but also very educational. The networking has been fantastic. It's just a great first experience. This will not be my last. I think this will be an every year type of thing.
Did you get any tips to navigate? Because it's not just, I mean, you and I, this will be the highlight, obviously, I know, but you got the expo right there, you have clinics, you have speakers, you have the conversations in the hallway that may be more meaningful than anything. So did anyone give you advice before you came here?
Yeah, they just said be ready to have your ears open, eyes open, and just really listen and take it all in. And that's kind of what we've done since we've been here. I've tried to listen to as many as possible, but like you said, really the conversations in the hallways have been just as fulfilling, if not more educational than anything.
I'll put you on the spot.
Right.
Was there anyone in particular or a moment that you had that's maybe stood out to you?
You mentioned Matt Blood's name a while ago. Matt was actually, when I played at Carolina, he was on our staff working kind of in that behind-the-scenes type stuff. And, now you see what he's doing. I ran into him and haven't seen him in a very long time. So that's kind of what happens here. You run into people that you didn't really expect to see, especially someone like Matt that's very busy this time of year, and he's here with every other coach in the world.
Yeah, it's really special. And I'm excited to learn more a little bit, C35. So tell me, what does it stand for? What does it mean? And what's the background behind it?
Yeah, so C35, the C's for Carolina. That's where I went to school, and the 35 was my number, and it just kind of rang and stuck. And the colors. So it started in 2018 out of Pinehurst, North Carolina. And since then, we've grown into North Carolina and South Carolina with 4 different facilities. We've got about 70 teams. We've got a great staff. It's been a lot of fun to see the growth, and we're continuing to come here and try to get better, trying to learn more, try to network with some powerhouses in this industry and really learn from them.
I'm so curious what it must be like to start something like that, the adventure, but such a great undertaking from the ground floor. Go take me back a little bit to the beginning stages, what that was like for you.
Yeah, so, honestly, I started it from Arizona. I was rehabbing a surgery when I was with the Reds, and I just got a phone call with somebody that wanted to hopefully get, baseball more local in the community, more teaching, more coaching, and so I agreed to partner and do this thing. And it started with really building the people around you, and that's kind of how I build, anything that I'm a part of now is to put people around you that's smarter and better than you are.
Yeah.
So we've been able to do that with our staff, and I've got some incredible people that, work extremely hard to make the experience for our players top notch. So, I started it, but it does not go without our staff.
I'd imagine too, though, when you want to undertake something like this, you must have had people in your past who inspired you. So maybe if you could give me a few names and what kind of impact they had on you.
Yeah, I can talk from coaches from days. I ran into my single A manager that followed me from single A to double A to triple A to the big leagues. I saw him yesterday here, So, but, my high school coach was obviously very instrumental. My college coaches, Hall of Famer Coach Mike Fox out of North Carolina.
Absolutely.
And then his predecessor, Scott Forbes, is one of my best friends in the world. So I get to talk with them on a daily basis. And, man, they took a kid from that struggled his first 2 years in college. In today's world, probably would have transferred, with how the landscape is. But lucky enough, I could not do that. And it was a great decision to stay. And obviously my career lasted a lot longer than North Carolina. But that's some of my fondest memories in the world is there. And our basketball team's playing right now, and I'm sitting up here talking to you, so I'm hoping that we're doing okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get you through this. We'll get you to the other side. I understand where the priorities lay, but I also think that, you come here and there's so much information, right? And you're talking about these people from your past that you're pulling different pieces from. And I just asked Skip Hanks, how do you decide trial and error, what works for you, how you want to implement different things, and what your philosophies are? So how have you found the way to pick what fits best for your organization?
Failure. It's the same way as a player. You learn from failure, and especially as a short reliever, you gotta wash it and clean it out pretty quick and move on to the next day.
Goldfish mentality.
That's right. So I take a lot from what I learned playing days and the failure that I had, and learn from it and hopefully turn it into a success.
Yeah, so pitcher at UNC and then throughout your career, what are some of those takeaways that you want kids to learn? Because the game is changing, right? And we've got the old school, we've got the new school, everyone's trying to figure out where they sit in between. And I think we can have both. I think that it's actually a really positive thing to have both sides. One is not better than the other. You need both to succeed, but I feel like you've kind of navigated in between both. So what do you take away from maybe the old school and now the new school?
Well, I could tell you as a player, if I would have had all of this technology and all this data and all these different teachings and biomechanic readings and all of these fancy tools, I would have been a lot better.
Okay.
I embraced it. As a coach with the Reds, I had Cal Bodie as my boss. So I got to learn a whole lot from him and really kind of understand that other side of it, that new school. And I've taken that now and taught hopefully some of our players, young players. I tell guys now, if you don't understand it, and they'll find somebody that does. So you better embrace it.
I think about that too, because I often, I'm on Baseball Reference, and sometimes I still have to look, what does that acronym mean? Sometimes our game has all these acronyms, all these nuances, right? Baseball is not a simple sport, right? It is complex. And so when you're thinking about those things and the way that kids are learning, have you had to adapt your program or the way that you're teaching to the way kids are learning?
Sure. I think every year you're adapting. Again, these kids are getting smarter and smarter, and you have these things to your disposal that they are educating themselves, which I inspire kids to do a whole lot more, really to continue to educate yourself. And we better keep up. If not, again, they'll find somebody else that will.
So when people are searching for you, searching for C35, what are the key things you want them to know about what you bring?
It's just relationships. I'm big on relationships. That's one thing I miss the most about the pro game is the relationship. So, I want all of our players to know that our staff is going to be behind them and really help navigate whatever they're going through, their failures, their success. There's not a lot that I haven't seen or experienced in the game, so hopefully I can relate with them and just be somebody that bounces ideas off of them. Obviously, the networking piece and trying to find the right fit for them when it comes to college. But even when they go on from C35 and play, I want them to still use me as a resource, as a mentor. And I've always told, somebody asked me one time, what defines success as a coach? And of course, the wins and the losses, that's always there. But to me, if you're invited to their wedding, then you've really impacted them.
That's it.
And
that's the
success.
one.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I actually was going to ask you, you must get a lot of questions from these athletes. Maybe besides that one, is there a frequently asked question you get?
Because I spent most of my time in the game as a pitcher, the pitchers kind of more gravitate towards me and wanting to understand, the odds and the ends and stuff. But, you get a lot of questions. You get a lot of parents with questions.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
But I really like to engage with the player. We try to do some Zoom calls with our players and really open it up for forums and just ask questions. So just constant communication, but relationships, that's just always important to me.
How about what's coming up for you guys? What are the things you maybe want to achieve this year with C35, but what you got coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, so we got a lot of things right now in the works that we can't actually talk about on air yet.
It's
a secret.
You can't tell
me? Yeah, not yet. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay,
stay tuned.
All right, that's
but
fair.
We did partner with the Milwaukee Brewers, so our top team will be the Brewer Scout team, and that's where I played. So it's sentimental to me to be a part of that organization again. So we've got some really good players to roll out this summer. We're looking forward to playing against some of the best teams in the country, and most of them are represented here. So you get to see them and hang out with them and talk to them, and that's really the cool part about all this is you're competing on the field, but here you're really learning from each other.
All right, so I told you when you sat down, you got a lot of jobs. Founder and CEO of C35 Baseball, head baseball coach at Grace Christian School in Stanford, and then you're a part of the Brewers consultant team.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it all? Give me the key.
And I have 3 kids.
And you have 3 kids and a family. Oh my gosh.
It's I'm not sure I'm the type of person that can just sit at home and throw his feet up and go play golf every day, even though I love to play golf. I don't know if I can do that. So I love the game of baseball. It's done wonders for my life. So I want to be able to give back in as many ways as possible. But I do balance. I have a good balance in my life with my family and my work. And obviously, coaching at the high school level now at Grace Christian School in Stanford. It's what a privilege it is to impact those type of kids every day. And we got a pretty good team, so watch out for us as well. We might have a couple draft picks this year there.
I love that.
And again, surrounded myself with our staff there with some of the best in the business. So that's going to be worth to watch this year.
Now, I know that you get to teach a lot and you get to share so much, but I would wonder what you learn and what you have learned maybe over the past few years as you've been building this up, either about the game or just about the next generation of kids.
Yeah, again, it goes back to relationships. It really does. I keep going back to that because that's something you can carry with you forever. You can get caught up in all this stuff, but that's gone. Like, I don't remember a lot about, struck this guy out or this guy gave a walk-off home run. stuff like that. But the people that you come in contact with every day, they become part of your family, and you want to continue that relationship and build those as you go along. But, it's something that I talk to our players a lot about is, watching the actual game. I think we've gone away from that a little bit.
We have gone away from that. I feel like when I talk to kids about that,
they're on video games, they're on social media. There's a lot you can learn by just watching the game. And I used to always try to find a player that I could compare myself to.
Okay.
And usually
Who was that?
Well, usually the pitchers that threw the slowest. I didn't throw it very hard. I was more of a spin guy.
That's all right.
Yeah, I was more of a command guy. So I would watch your Kyle Hendricks, your players like that.
That's a pretty great one.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then would really just dissect how they attacked hitters and try to go and model that. So I tell our players all the time, watch the game. Watch the game.
That's one key. But I wonder, too, what else you maybe try to instill in these guys. Because, again, a common theme that we have had here is the state of the game, and at the youth level especially, the resources, the nutrition, the gyms, everything physically that they are doing. It's so different, and I'm sure it's different from what you were doing growing up, and the emphasis on travel ball, on organizational baseball, and whatnot. And is your organization, should it be better than your high school? What's more, there's so many different conversations, but you're talking about, number one, relationships and watching the game. But if there is a kid who's just trying to figure it out and there's maybe too much information out there, can you simplify the ways you feel like they can be successful right now?
Yeah, surround yourself with people that you trust, and put the right team around you. A lot of times, if you really expand that too much, you're hearing bits and pieces, and it really confuses you.
Yeah.
And not saying that I should be that only person or anyone else should be that only person, but really understand what helps you, what makes you tick, because, you always hear misery loves company. So really surround yourself with the people that are in your corner that can help you kind of achieve your goals.
Do you feel like you had a great first ABCA? Where are we ranking here?
Man, this is something, I promise you, this won't be the last one. I plan on going next year again, and the year after, and bringing more of our staff each and every time. They're back home right now working, and I'm here having a good time and really, understanding the landscape of this and really just being able to connect with so many people. Again, that's been by far the best part, is just seeing people that I haven't seen in some of them 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it takes you back, right?
It does. It really does.
You're like, remember when?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of those.
It's kind of nice, though, and I'd imagine now maybe it's a good way to start the year, reinvigorate, spark a little bit.
Baseball, and for people under this roof, it's a year-round job now. Yeah. But this seems like this is the official kickoff of the season, and I know we're excited. I know, at our high school we start our own field practice on Monday. So
here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And this is a great way to kick that off.
All right, I know you got a game to attend to, but I am so grateful that you got to help us close out all our live coverage here from Grapevine.
That's what I was in the minor leagues and at Carolina, a closer.
There we go.
So it works.
Look at that, closing it out. Rob Wooten, founder and CEO of C35 Baseball. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
All right, that is going to conclude, I believe. Jim Jenks, can you confirm to me? Jim Jenks, over here. Jim Jenks. We're done. We are concluding our coverage. Yes, thank you. Okay, I wanted to be sure here. I want to give a huge thank you really quick to our entire crew, not just here in Grapevine, but also back in LA, Steve Banta, David Otta, Jim Jakes here on the floor with us, our entire crew, our audio, our video as well. Darren Sutton, Hunter Pence, who were on the desk earlier this week. I'm Danny Wexelman. And again, you can go back and watch all of our incredible conversations on Perfect Game. You've been watching us on Perfect Game TV. I'm Danny Wexelman, and this is going to put a bow on our coverage from the 80th edition of the American Baseball Coaches Association. We will see you next year in DC.